Douluo, the Fire Phoenix God. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1. I'm Ma Hongjun. Barak Kingdom, Soto City. In a remote village, in a somewhat dilapidated square, a red-clothed boy, about 1.5 meters tall and a little bloated, was running in the square with a backpack on his back. The boy had a fiery red mohawk hairstyle. Although he was bloated, his face was not very fat. On the contrary, he gave people a very determined feeling. The square was not big, and it was only 200 meters around in a circle. The boy didn't know how many laps he ran. Every time he passed a place, sweat dripped down. The boy's name was Ma Hongjun, and he was a student of Shrek Academy. Hey, fatty, have you changed your nature today? You look so tired. Do you want a delicious big sausage? A man in grey clothes and neat short hair said. Oscar, I'm hungry too. Give me one. Ma Hongjun stopped immediately and panted. Okay. Oscar smiled slightly and chanted a spell. Super recovery sausage. The next moment, Oscar's soul power condensed a sausage in his hand. Here, a recovery sausage for only 1 copper soul coin. Oscar said. Ma Hongjun took Oscar's recovery sausage. You're so stingy. We're all from the same academy. Why are you charging me? Ma Hongjun said. Brothers should be clear about accounts. 1 copper soul coin is already very cheap. Oscar said. In fact, he didn't think about charging money. He just said it casually. In the academy, few people are willing to eat the sausages made by his soul skills. Basically, he can't sell any of them. Take it. This is a gold soul coin. For the next 99 days, you give me 1 recovery sausage every morning. Ma Hongjun knew the benefits of Oscar's recovery sausage. His special training for the next 3 months would depend on him. Then I won't be polite. Deal. Oscar said with a smile. Fatty, what's the stimulus? I heard that you have a new girlfriend named Ziocui. Did you break up? How do you know? Ma Hongjun said. This has spread all over the village. Oscar said. Good news never goes out, but bad news spreads 1,000 miles. But let it spread. Now cultivation is the most important thing. Ma Hongjun said seriously. What Oscar didn't know was that the Ma Hongjun in front of him was no longer the same Ma Hongjun. In the morning, Ma Hongjun woke up and found that he had traveled through time and space and was reborn as a character in a novel he had read in his previous life. The body of Ma Hongjun from Douluo continent. Although he had read the novel for many years, he still remembered many plots clearly. In addition, he had recently watched more than 100 episodes of the Douluo continent anime, so he was very clear about Ma Hongjun's current situation. It has been 6 years since he came to Shrek Academy as a child, and he only turned 12 2 months ago. It is exactly 100 days away from the next Shrek Academy enrollment. In other words, Tang-san, Ziao and others will arrive on that day. After weighing the pros and cons, Ma Hongjun decided to give himself the most rigorous special training within these 100 days. Not to mention how much soul power will increase. At least he has to get rid of this fat first. Looking at Ma Hongjun with a serious face, Oscar threw the gold soul coin to Ma Hongjun again. Since you are heartbroken, you should take the money. You don't have much money. I don't need it for now. Come to me anytime if you need to recover your sausage. Oscar said and strode away from the square. He turned his back to Ma Hongjun and whispered, Oscar, why are you so stupid? That's a gold soul coin. Since Oscar didn't want it, Ma Hongjun took the gold soul coin. Like Oscar, they are the 2 poorest people in Shrek Academy. Especially him. Now all his assets add up to less than 3 gold soul coins. As for the other student Damubei, as a prince, he doesn't need to worry about money at all. Oscar and he are not at the soul master level yet. They can only receive a subsidy of 10 gold soul coins from the spirit hall every month. If they become soul masters, they will have a subsidy of 100 gold soul coins every month, and basically they won't worry about money. As for myself now, a level 26 great soul master, I can only receive a subsidy of 10 gold soul coins every month. But I can keep less than 2. The rest had to be handed over to the academy. After he became a great soul master, Flanders began to charge Ma Hongjun tuition. 100 gold soul coins a year, paid to the academy in monthly installments. Flanders is indeed a shrewd man, and it is exactly the same as in the novel. After resting for about 10 minutes, Ma Hongjun did not immediately take the recovery sausage given by Oscar. He continued to carry the backpack, which contained at least 10 kilograms of stones. Ma Hongjun also has his own method, and he practices step by step. At least these 10 kilograms have made him extremely uncomfortable. An hour later, Ma Hongjun's physical strength has reached the limit, and he is shaky when walking, as if he will fall down at the next moment. No, I have to cheer up. I must persevere. I want to become stronger, Ma Hongjun said. As a diehard fan of Douluo Continent, when he recently watched more than 100 episodes of Douluo Continent, he saw Tang San rescue Xiao Wu, and Xiao Wu sacrificed herself for Tang San. At that time, as an outsider, he really shed tears, and was moved by Xiao Wu and Tang San. Since I have the opportunity to become Ma Hongjun, and become one of the Shrek 7 devils, I must change myself and become stronger. I can't lose the opportunity to become a first level god because of laziness. It seems that I have found confidence again, and my body feels a little stronger. Continue. Another half an hour passed. Ma Hongjun couldn't hold on any longer, and lay on the ground motionless. In the attic in the distance, it seems that Fatty has suffered a big blow this time. How about you introduce someone to Fatty? Oscar said to the tall blonde boy next to him. Damu Bei glanced at Ma Hongjun again, turned around and left. Forget it, Fatty should have really changed this time. It is said that this guy personally proposed to break up this morning. The reason is that he practiced hard. I went on a date, and Fatty has something to do. You can help him. So that's it. Oscar didn't expect that Ma Hongjun really changed. Not only Oscar and Damu Bei saw all this, but also Flanders, the dean who founded this academy, who was just watching silently in secret. After a rest, Ma Hongjun's physical strength was slowly recovering. The first training session, Ma Hongjun wanted to find his own limit, but he unexpectedly broke through it. He picked up the recovery sausage he had just received from Oscar, and melted it in his mouth. This was not a real sausage, but one that was condensed from Oscar's martial spirit and soul power, and took effect instantly after taking it. In an instant, his physical strength and soul power recovered a lot, eliminating nearly half of his fatigue. Recovery sausage, this is a good thing. It's really good to have such a teammate. Ma Hongjun stood up, patted the dust off his body and whispered. However, because the sweat on his body had been mixed with his clothes, it also blended into the dust and dirt on the ground. It was dirty and smelly. Chapter 2 Artifact 2, Reshape. Ma Hongjun returned to his dormitory, took a hot shower, changed into a set of clean clothes, and immediately felt refreshed. However, while taking a shower, he made a new discovery about his body. On his chest, there was a pattern that looked like a tattoo. This was not mentioned in the novel, but Ma Hongjun felt that the pattern was a bit strange, and had a sense of deja vu. At first, he didn't pay attention. When he washed his second son, he felt inexplicably angry. For a while, his mind was full of Japanese action movies. He knew that he had to have sex, or eat a lot to control it, otherwise Ma Hongjun would not be so fat. Have sex? It's definitely impossible. If he went to eat, then his efforts today would be in vain. Eating a lot of food after a lot of exercise will promote the body's absorption. If he continues like this, he will not only fail to lose weight, but will get fatter and fatter. After a struggle, he decided to solve it himself. As the saying goes, do it yourself to have enough food and clothing. Just as he was about to do it, his chest gradually became hot. The evil fire inexplicably surged towards his chest. Then, a fiery red spear of about 18 centimeters seemed to appear out of thin air, and was imprinted on his chest. The evil fire was actually absorbed by the spear-like tattoo. Suddenly, his mind was clear, and all thoughts disappeared, without any evil thoughts. Lying on the bed, he recalled the appearance of the pattern again. He couldn't help but pull open his clothes, and take a look, and confirmed it again and again. Isn't this the spear in the hand of the fire god Zirong in the Zirong temple that I visited the day before the time travel? Ma Hongjun was surprised to find that the pattern of the Zirong god's spear was on him. I said I had seen it somewhere, but it was not this color in the temple. The spear and the statue of Zirong were the same color of stone and concrete, but the spear on his chest now showed a fiery red color. Going to the Zirong temple, Ma Hongjun also learned about Zirong, and there are many different versions in the legend. No matter which one it is, Zirong is the fire god, and the spear in his hand is his weapon, the Zirong god's spear. It is said that Zirong's divine spear was made by Zirong using 10,000 years of black iron. There are also rumors that Zirong's divine spear was made of at least 10,000 years of black fire in the fire domain. This divine spear can not only control the fire domain, but also has super destructive power. Zirong became the overlord of one side with this divine spear. No matter which version it is, Zirong's divine spear is an extraordinary artifact. Ma Hongjun was so excited. Although it is not a real artifact, a pattern can solve the problem of evil fire in his body. I don't know what kind of existence it is. When it comes to Douluo continent, at least it will not be inferior to any artifact in this world. Ma Hongjun was ecstatic to have a divine weapon in the treatment of the protagonist at the beginning. Although it is a bit regrettable that he does not have the double martial spirits that defy the heavens like other time travelers. But with the divine weapon and the evil fire phoenix martial spirit, he believes that he will not lose to anyone, including the son of destiny, Tang-san. Perhaps without the danger of evil fire, my martial spirit should be a proper fire phoenix now. Ma Hongjun couldn't help himself, and released his martial soul carefully in the house. He had to be careful. The wooden house, the flames released by his martial soul were powerful, and could catch fire at any time. But just when his martial soul was released, an evil thought came to his mind again, and the mark of Zirong's magic gun seemed to be fighting with his martial soul. It actually began to absorb the power of his martial soul crazily, including his soul power. Don't do that. You have worked hard to cultivate your soul power. Just absorb it to eliminate the evil fire. Don't absorb my soul power, Ma Hongjun said worriedly. In an instant, the sky was full of flames, and the whole house was on fire. But at this time, the martial soul was no longer listening to him. It seemed to be completely absorbed by the mark of Zirong's magic gun on his chest. It also included his own soul power. The mark of the magic gun seemed to be swallowed up like a bottomless pit. Ma Hongjun's martial soul even had a phantom. Okay, you can do whatever you want with your soul power, but don't lose your martial soul. Ma Hongjun was really worried and said helplessly. Just now he was still happy about having a golden finger, but now this golden finger wants to devour his cultivation and devour his martial arts. Where in the world can you find such a golden finger? Oscar lived not far from Ma Hongjun, and he immediately found that Ma Hongjun's house was on fire. Again, Oscar took a look and returned to his room. He didn't know that Ma Hongjun had set the room on fire many times. Now there were no other buildings around Ma Hongjun's room. It was alone in an open space. At least it would be like this before he controlled the evil fire. After all, there were many fires, and Shrek Academy had taken precautions. Otherwise the academy and the village would be burned. Oscar and the soul masters of other academies were the same. At most, they would say, this kid has to work hard to build the house again. When the room caught fire, no one came to put out the fire. After all, such a fire could not be put out by ordinary people. Everyone knew that Ma Hongjun's martial arts soul ignited the fire, and it could not hurt Ma Hongjun himself. But how could they know that Ma Hongjun, who was surrounded by flames at this moment, wanted to cry, but had no tears, and even if he cried, they would be evaporated in an instant. It's over. I feel like my second soul ring is gone. You didn't even let it go, you bastard. Ma Hongjun cursed. As a golden finger, it was too unkind. The soul power has dropped again. Level 19. Level 16. Ma Hongjun didn't know how many times he had cursed the Zirong God strong mark, but he still couldn't stop it. After absorbing the soul power, will it swallow me up too? In that case, I might be the most miserable time traveler in history. Level 12. Level 11. Ma Hongjun felt that his soul ring seemed to be disappearing and being swallowed up again. Don't, big brother, uncle, boss, can you leave one for me? Huh. Gone. From a great soul master to a soul warrior, the subsidy is gone, and you still say you're following the third young master? How can you make up for this gap of more than 20 levels? Ma Hongjun was a little desperate and cursed the Zirong God spear on his chest. I swallowed your uncle myself. I'm not afraid of you. Ma Hongjun was completely angry. At this time, I thought the soul power would decrease. The Zirang divine spear mark seemed to have been awakened by Ma Hongjun's scolding. It stopped devouring soul power. Is it finally over? Ma Hongjun sighed. At least he had retained his soul power at level 10, so there was still hope. What? Damn it, it's happening again. As soon as he finished speaking, the Zirang divine spear seemed to have made a new move. No, what is this? Ma Hongjun felt that his body was particularly comfortable. Is it making me die of comfort? It seemed that a particularly comfortable energy was filling his whole body. It turned out that the evil fire phoenix had become a phantom, and it even felt that some of the disappeared martial arts were being repaired and changed. Is it going to reshape me and my martial arts? Ma Hongjun thought to himself. Chapter 3 Remodeling, Fiery Sutra. The change of the martial soul made Ma Hongjun feel a little happy. In the cultivation of Douluo continent, the martial soul is the foundation, and a good martial soul is indeed a good asset. However, Ma Hongjun did not agree with the saying that there are no useless martial souls, only useless soul masters. You are the protagonist, you have all kinds of cheats, and you are the blue silver emperor. If this is a useless soul, then there are few qualified martial souls in the world. This is really a bit of talking without any pain. You can still practice again if you lose some soul power. Solving the problem of the martial soul is the big deal. Ma Hongjun clearly felt the change of his martial soul, and there was no trace of evil fire at all. This energy filled his whole body, as if it was still changing his body. Suddenly, it seemed that a special and somewhat cold energy rushed into his mind. Is this actually a cultivation method? Ma Hongjun was delighted, and a lot of information appeared in his mind. The only thing that can pass on the method to him is definitely the tattoo on his chest. After all, the disappearance of his soul power and soul rings was all caused by this artifact tattoo. Now he has also passed on a set of exercises, the fiery scripture, a complete set of cultivation exercises, which also includes some additional martial arts. It's worth it, it's all worth it. Ma Hongjun was no longer angry or complaining at this moment. I'm sorry, Shen Qiang, I just blamed you wrongly. You are so generous. Let's get along well in the future. I will never bury you. Ma Hongjun said in his mouth. At present, the martial soul is still changing. I just got the exercises, and now it is completely in my mind. Practice. Ma Hongjun followed the exercises and internal force operation lines on the fiery scripture, and with the help of the energy of the angry tattoo, it actually made him run it successfully at once, and the internal force, which can also be called soul power, gathered towards his Danshan bit by bit. Gradually, half an hour later, his wooden house had completely collapsed. The ground was not completely burned, and all the clothes had been burned cleanly. The whole bloated body was floating 1 meter above the ground. It turned out that Flanders, who was not very concerned at first, also came to Ma Hongjun not far away. What's wrong with this kid? Why do I feel that he is a little different? Flanders observed carefully. Oh, this kid has quite a lot of capital, comparable to me. No, this kid is only 12 years old. Flanders' old face flushed. Ahem, compared to me, he is actually not as good. Ma Hongjun has been quietly practicing the Fiery Fire Sutra at this moment. The Fiery Fire Sutra has 12 levels, 3 more than Tang San's 9 levels of Zhuanshan Gong. According to Ma Hongjun's thinking, if one level corresponds to one realm, the 11th level is God. Then what about the 12th level? The more excited he was, the slower time passed. Another hour passed, and Ma Hongjun felt that there was no original energy in his body, and his Fiery Fire Sutra had actually cultivated the first level to the perfect realm. Bump. Ouch. This fall made him trip directly in the burning carbon ash below, which was still a little warm. Ma Hongjun, what happened to you just now? Flanders asked immediately when he saw Ma Hongjun end the state just now. Dean, my house is on fire again. Ma Hongjun said. I wonder what happened to you? You've been suspended in the air for an hour. Are you okay? Flanders was still a little worried. Although he was smart, he was very good to his students and Ma Hongjun, who was watching over him. Dean, where are my clothes? Ma Hongjun looked around and saw that only Flanders was there, so he felt relieved. I was exposed for an hour, that's 2 hours, and I was just being watched like this? He looked at his brother silently. Well, fortunately he was fine, otherwise it would be a bit embarrassing. Put on my clothes, Flanders said, and then he took out a set of clothes from the soul guide and threw it to Ma Hongjun. This smell. After taking the clothes, Ma Hongjun felt a strong smell on the clothes, the smell of sweat. This was obviously a dirty piece of clothing that had been worn and had not been washed in time. Dean, can you change it? This one looks a little. If you want, put it on. If you don't want, then you can be naked. Flanders looked like he had no room for negotiation. Well, I'll just make do with it for now. Ma Hongjun sighed. You're so cruel. By the way, my tattoo. Ma Hongjun immediately remembered that the tattoo of Zirung's magic gun on his chest would not be seen by the dean. Looking down, Ma Hongjun found that his chest was white and tender except for a little more flesh, without any tattoo. He put on the clothes with strong smell with difficulty. Dean, did you see something on my chest just now? Ma Hongjun asked tentatively. What? Flanders looked puzzled. You didn't see anything? Ma Hongjun asked again. Just saw a piece of fat. What else could it be? If nothing else, I'll go back. You can go to Oscar and make do with them tonight. Flanders said and turned to leave. By the way, remember to wash my clothes after you wear them. Flanders added. Dean, please wait. I have something to discuss with you. Ma Hongjun said. Regarding the current changes, he decided to tell Flanders. Flanders would not harm him. He was at most a level 10 soul warrior now, and he seemed to have full innate soul power. Reducing tuition? Forget it. Practice hard and strive to become a soul master as soon as possible, so that you can get 100 gold soul coins as a subsidy. Flanders said. Ma Hongjun shook his head and said, not this, I mean my martial soul has changed just now, and it may have mutated again. Reducing tuition is impossible. What? Your martial soul? Flanders turned around and said in surprise. Ma Hongjun's martial soul problem has always troubled him, but he couldn't solve it. And he couldn't find that person, so it has never been solved. Dean, can we find a place to talk? My martial soul may no longer have a problem. Ma Hongjun smiled. Okay, come with me. Flanders smiled. Ma Hongjun, who solved the problem, must be one of the most talented people in Shrek Academy. Flanders took Ma Hongjun to a remote place. Okay, let me see your martial soul. Flanders said. Ma Hongjun also released his martial soul. Suddenly, the fiery red light was as dazzling as the sun. Top grade fire phoenix. Flanders was surprised. When Ma Hongjun just released his martial spirit, Flanders felt an extraordinary power, and the scorching energy even made him feel uncomfortable. There is no trace of evil fire at all. Ma Hongjun, this is really great. How did you do it? Flanders asked curiously. The problem that had been bothering him was actually solved by this kid himself. Dean, I was just about to tell you about this problem. The mutation of the martial spirit also caused me to lose something. Ma Hongjun said in a low voice. Flanders looked at Ma Hongjun again and said, you still have this body of flesh. What did you lose? My soul power and soul ring are gone. Now my soul power is only level 10. Ma Hongjun said a little embarrassedly. This means that he must go find soul rings again next, which is why he must tell Flanders. Chapter 4. Fiery Phoenix, start anew. Soul power and soul rings are gone. Flanders looked shocked. Ma Hongjun could only nod and said, I don't know what happened. It seems that my soul power and soul rings were all absorbed by the martial spirit, and then this change happened. So please ask the dean to help me find the soul ring again, and start all over again. Ma Hongjun said that this was his purpose. Find the soul ring by yourself? Forget it. Find the soul ring, and start all over again. Flanders repeated. Flanders thought for a while and said, are there any other changes in your body? Ma Hongjun shook his head and said, almost nothing. If there is any, maybe my body is stronger now. I think I should be able to absorb a 1000-year soul ring. 1000-year soul ring? Are you going to die? Flanders retorted. The first martial spirit is a 1000-year soul ring, which is unheard of, let alone seen. Dean, my original first soul ring was 270 years old, and my second soul ring was 590 years old. Under such circumstances, I have cultivated to level 26. That is to say, my body should be close to the level of a great soul master at level 30, and the change of the martial soul this time seems to have strengthened my body. I think even the soul master who has obtained the third soul ring now may not be stronger than my body. So, my current body strength can definitely absorb a 1000-year soul ring, Ma Hongjun explained. This is a bit like what Tang San did later. His physical strength went up. After giving the soul ring to Xiao Wu, he went to replenish the soul ring himself, and directly made all the previous soul rings reach 10,000 years. Don't say it. This is also a way to change the soul ring, but it didn't work. Only Tang San and the current me have such an opportunity. Although he can't make the soul ring reach the level of 10,000 years this time, it can also reach the level of 1,000 years. This is the so-called blessing in disguise, and there is gain after loss. Flanders thought for a while and nodded. You may be right. Although there is no record of anyone having such a situation, I think you should be able to try it. Well, Dean, when are we going? Ma Hongjun said excitedly. You are really a little anxious. Go buy some clothes this afternoon and get ready. We will leave tomorrow morning at the earliest. Flanders said. Thank you, Dean, but my money seems to have been melted. Do you think you can give me some relief? Ma Hongjun said. His flame power was very easy to melt these ordinary metals. Now there is not a single copper coin left. Remember to return it to me. I will go to Xiao Wuji to talk about this matter first. You should decide where to stay tonight. Flanders said and disappeared in front of Ma Hongjun in a flash. Ma Hongjun found that the money Flanders gave him was a silver soul coin, which was really a bit stingy. But it was enough to buy a set of clothes, and there was still some left. After getting a silver soul coin, Ma Hongjun hurried to the only tailor in the village who made clothes. This stinky outfit must be changed as soon as possible. In less than half an hour, a new set of clothes was made, using only 3 copper soul coins. Although the material was not particularly good, it was at least much better than the clothes he was wearing. Then Ma Hongjun came to a stream, took a bath, and washed the dean's clothes. Although Flanders was sometimes a little excessive, he actually did not harm him. And it is possible that Flanders only had this set of clothes in his soul guide. In fact, what he didn't know was, Flanders was discussing with Xiao Wuji at this time, but he thought in his heart, I won't be scolded if I give him a used piece of clothes, who made him covered with carbon ash. That kid actually has such a situation. It is definitely worth it to exchange the 16th level soul power for a perfect martial soul, plus a 1000-year soul ring. Xiao Wuji said in surprise. Then you get ready, we will set off tomorrow morning. Flanders said. Xiao Wuji nodded and said, no problem. Ma Hongjun returned to the college and originally wanted to find Oscar, but he would probably be rejected. He decided to try to find Mr. Lukabin, who assigned accommodation to the college. Teacher Lukabin's martial soul is Xingluoki, and he is a level 65 control type soul emperor. Strangely enough, in terms of the ability to deceive, no one in the entire Douluo continent can match him. Take Shrek's teacher for example. There are 2 soul emperors and 3 soul saints, which is stronger than many academies. Moreover, the students who are accepted are all geniuses around 12 years old, with soul power at least over level 20. Teacher Lu, can I get a room for ordinary students? Ma Hongjun said. As far as he can remember, this is the 4th time he has come to ask. The previous times were just like this time, and the house was burned down by fire, and they were ejected without exception. Fortunately, this time he finally didn't refuse. Lukabin took out a key and handed it to Ma Hongjun, saying, this is your key. The dean just said that he can assign me a room for ordinary students. Has your martial soul problem been solved? Thank you, Teacher Lu. According to what the dean said, there should be no problem with the martial soul. Ma Hongjun said. Yes, the dean is really capable. Lukabin said. Ma Hongjun also nodded and said, well, I think so too. He was quite happy that Flanders could explain the situation to him in advance and get a room he had always wanted to live in. It's not wrong to give him a little praise. After getting the key and seeing the house number, this is quite marginal. It's the kind of room that can avoid minimal damage, even if it catches fire. It's remote, but it's quiet. Ma Hongjun remembered that this was the room of a student who had just left the academy a few days ago. That person did not graduate successfully. He was already 20 years old and at the peak of level 38 of soul power. What a pity. The student begged Flanders for a long time, but was still driven out by Flanders. Therefore, this is why there are only 3 students left in Shrek now. However, according to the regulations of the students at this time, he is not qualified to become a student of Shrek in his current situation. At night, Ma Hongjun was still a little excited, and it was difficult to calm down. He couldn't fall asleep for a long time. He simply got up and practiced the Fiery Fire Sutra. There are 3 sets of martial arts in the Fiery Fire Sutra. The first one is the Fiery God Eye, which seems to have the ability to see through everything, a bit like the fire eyes and golden pupils. Practicing it can improve mental strength. The second one is Fiery Flame Without Trace, which is a body movement type of martial arts. The last one is a very powerful martial arts, Fiery Palm. At present, these 3 sets of martial arts are almost equivalent to 3 soul skills. This skill will become stronger as he becomes stronger, and it can be said to be useful for a lifetime. If I start over, then my martial soul can't be called Evil Fire Phoenix, Fire Phoenix, Fiery Sutra, and various martial arts. My new martial soul, let's call you Fiery Phoenix. Although not cool enough, it is appropriate enough. Chapter 5 Ma Hongjun's Decision. The next morning, before dawn, almost everyone in Shrek Academy was still in sleep. At this time, Flanders, Xiao Wuji and Ma Hongjun had already set out from Soto City. There were no carriages or transportation, and they walked completely. The Berek Kingdom borders the Xingluo Empire, and is next to the Xingdao Great Forest, not very far away. This was the first time that Ma Hongjun went to hunt soul beasts and absorb soul rings since he was born, and he was a little nervous. Hongjun, come and show me your martial spirit, Xiao Wuji asked curiously. Okay. Ma Hongjun immediately released his martial spirit. Xiao Wuji, the Akala, was not very tall, just over 1.7 meters tall, and his muscular body looked very powerful. He was not like those who only trained muscles in their previous lives, and their dead muscles actually did not have much strength. Dean, Teacher Xiao, I call the new martial spirit the Fiery Phoenix. Ma Hongjun released his martial spirit. This is a real phoenix, a top-level martial spirit. When the martial spirit appeared, Xiao Wuji felt the unique momentum. This is indeed different. Although Xiao Wuji didn't know how to express his meaning, he knew that Ma Hongjun's martial spirit in front of him was not ordinary. Flender, you are really good. Xiao Wuji praised again. He felt that Flender must have contributed to this. Putting away the martial spirit, Ma Hongjun also said, thanks to the Dean, I can have what I have today. Flender's cheeks turned slightly red when he heard Xiao Wuji and Ma Hongjun praising him at the same time, but it was not visible at this moment, when the sky was not yet completely bright. It's okay, it's still Hongjun who works hard enough. Flender said, thinking, when did this fat man learn to praise people? I didn't do anything, but it sounds good. The 3 of them walked from night to dawn, and from the scorching sun to dusk. They came to a small town called Black Soul Town, which is only 20 kilometers away from here to the Stardao Great Forest. Rest for a night, set off early tomorrow, and if you are fast, you can find a suitable soul beast in the afternoon. Flender ordered. On the way, they had already discussed it. Ma Hongjun's first soul ring was from the soul beast that had the first soul ring before, the fire scale beast. Because Ma Hongjun wanted a soul ring that was more than 1,000 years old, Flender suggested on the spot that he should still do the same as last time, which might reduce the danger. After all, the body's resistance would definitely be better when absorbing the soul ring of the same soul beast for the second time, and there would be experience. In fact, at this moment, Ma Hongjun only had theoretical experience in his memory. The next morning, the 3 of them set out again. Because the place where they hunted soul beasts had been visited once a few years ago, Flender was very familiar with it. At noon, they had already arrived at the place where Ma Hongjun had obtained his first soul ring. Keep going forward. Last time I saw that the king of the fire scale beast was a 1,000-year-old soul beast, which was just right. Flender said. The fire scale beast king? Well, this area is still on the outskirts of the Stardao Great Forest. Or 1,000-year-old soul beast is enough to be the king. I wonder if this fire scale beast king is still there. Flender said again. setting out again. It was the first time that Ma Hongjun came to a primitive forest like the Stardao Great Forest. Along the way, they saw all kinds of strange soul beasts, both plant and animal, but unfortunately, there were very few that they could remember the names of. It can be said that there were almost none. Needless to say, Ma Hongjun knew that the former must not have studied these basic knowledge well. As a soul master, understanding various martial souls and characteristics can play the role of knowing oneself and the enemy in future battles. Understanding soul beasts can help you consider your future soul rings. Ma Hongjun was good before. The knowledge taught by the academy teachers almost went in one ear and out the other. Ma Hong secretly decided that, after returning this time, he would not only speed up the cultivation of soul power, but also supplement the basic knowledge of soul masters. With 2 soul saints in front and behind, it was very safe. Some soul beasts that were not long-sighted just wanted to attack, but were dealt with by Zhao Wuji and Flanders. Who said that Ma Hongjun was only level 10 now? After walking for about 20 minutes, the 3 came to a canyon. There were almost no plants growing in this canyon. A hot breath came as soon as they entered the canyon. Be careful, this is the territory of the fire scale beast. Zhao Wuji, you and Ma Hongjun stay here. I'll go catch the fire scale beast king. Flanders said. Flanders rushed into a cave in front of the canyon. Then, there was a rumbling sound. The cave exploded directly, and Flanders activated his 7th soul skill directly. His martial soul body caught a soul beast that looked like a lizard and covered with scales. Flanders is really something. He used his martial soul body to catch a 1,000-year-old soul beast. It seems that he hasn't done it for a long time. Zhao Wuji laughed. Follow me, Zhao Wuji said. Zhao Wuji also ran out of the canyon with a fast step, and Ma Hongjun immediately followed. He knew that this was to go to a relatively safe place to absorb soul rings. If he absorbed them in the nest of the fire scale beast, he would definitely be attacked by other fire scale beasts. After running out for about a few minutes, he unexpectedly came to the place where Ma Hongjun absorbed soul rings for the first time. It took 20 minutes to walk, but only a few minutes to run. Bang! Flanders directly dropped the fire scale beast from the air. He also released the state of his martial soul true body. A level 78 soul saint using the 7th soul skill. To deal with a soul beast that is more than 1,000 years old is like killing a chicken with a butcher knife. Dean, how old is this fire scale beast? Ma Hongjun asked with some interest. He seemed to remember that Flanders had told him about it, but he could not find such information from the former's memory. You kid, didn't I tell you at the beginning? Judging from the size of the scales and the length of the body of this fire scale beast, this fire scale beast king is more than 1,500 years old. Can you absorb it? Flanders asked. 1,500 years. Ma Hongjun was still a little worried. He felt that he would definitely have no problem with just over 1,000 years, but this 1,500 years was a bit tricky. If it doesn't work, change it, Zhao Wuji said. Remember, do it according to your ability. If it doesn't work, I'll catch another one. Flanders looked at Ma Hongjun and said, leaving everything to him to decide. Ma Hongjun looked at the dying fire scale beast king on the ground. He knew the danger of absorbing beyond one's level. If he was not careful, his body would explode and die. It was not easy to come to this world. Is this risk worth taking? Do you want to or not? I already have the fiery fire sutra, various martial arts, and the mark of the artifact. Although it is not manifesting at the moment, he believes that it is definitely still in his body. My body is close to level 30, and I have that special energy to transform my body. The limit of the 3rd soul ring is more than 1,700 years. This is only 1,500 years, so what? I can definitely control this power. Dean, Teacher Zhao, I have decided that my 1st soul ring is this one. Ma Hongjun pointed at the dying fire scale beast king and said firmly. Chapter 6 New Phoenix Fireline. After Ma Hongjun finished speaking, he took the dagger that he had prepared long ago from his waist. Poor and poor, he still doesn't have a space soul guide, so he can only hang it on his waist. Flanders didn't stop him, but Zhao Wuji came to Flanders and whispered, why don't you stop it? What if something goes wrong? Believe Hongjun, I think this kid seems to have changed a lot. If he can successfully absorb this soul ring, he will have a chance to be the greatest soul master in the world. Flanders said. At this moment, he recalled the day when Ma Hongjun worked hard to exercise in the academy square. Well, I hope he can succeed. Otherwise, Flanders, you will be the sinner of Shrek. Xiao Wuji said. Ma Hongjun inserted the dagger into the neck of the fire scale beast. This method can instantly kill more than 80% of soul beasts, including the fire scale beast in front of him. In his memory, he did the same thing a few years ago. The blood of the fire scale beast flowed out, emitting a hot breath like magma. However, Ma Hongjun, who also has the fire attribute, was not at all repulsive to the burning sensation, and felt somewhat comfortable. In the past few breaths, soul rings began to condense on the body of the fire scale beast. A purple 1000-year soul ring appeared in front of Ma Hongjun. He put down the dagger with his hands trembling with excitement. Ma Hongjun took a deep breath and told himself to be calm. It's just 1500 years. I can do it. Then he immediately sat cross-legged and focused his martial soul. He carefully controlled the soul ring and entered his body martial soul. The next moment, a strong and explosive burning sensation came out, and the soul ring took effect. To absorb soul beasts, it is important to absorb the energy inside the soul ring. Ma Hongjun immediately operated the fiery fire sutra to calm the strong hot energy. The operation of the fiery fire sutra relieved Ma Hongjun a lot of pressure at once. Ma Hongjun remembered that the soul ring of a soul beast would turn into two energies when absorbed by a soul master. One formed a soul ring soul skill, and the other would be absorbed by the soul master to advance. Otherwise, how could every soul beast increase its soul power by one level after absorbing a soul ring, and the increase would be even greater if it was absorbed beyond the level. At this moment, Ma Hongjun was undoubtedly absorbing spirit rings beyond his level, and the energy shock he suffered was similar to that of a level 30 spirit master. However, Ma Hongjun was only level 10 now. Fortunately, he had already cultivated to level 26 before. Although his spirit power had regressed, his body was even stronger. With the cultivation method of the fiery scripture, Ma Hongjun's fiery scripture was like a fish entering the sea and a bird flying in the sky for the energy generated by the spirit ring. At this moment, Ma Hongjun felt that 1500 years was not that difficult. However, he did not relax and still absorbed it carefully, not wanting any accidents. That's it? Xiao Wuji was still worried. But he saw that, although Ma Hongjun felt a little uncomfortable at the beginning, he seemed to be fine after just a few breaths. It seems that a spirit ring of 1500 years is not Hongjun's limit. Flanders said. In fact, he was more nervous than anyone else. When Ma Hongjun was 6 years old, he brought him to the academy, and it can be said that he brought him up. Seeing that Ma Hongjun had no problem, a hanging heart was also put down. As the fiery fire sutra was running, Ma Hongjun's soul power was slowly increasing, but the soul ring had not been fully absorbed, and his soul power level had been suppressed. Time passed slowly. Half an hour later, a purple soul ring appeared beside Ma Hongjun, surrounding his body. Great, Ma Hongjun succeeded, Xiao Wuji said happily. Ma Hongjun did not get up immediately. His soul power surged, and his soul power level was increasing. The fiery fire sutra had reached the second level, level 11, level 13, level 15, and it had not stopped. The increase in soul power was increasing as fast as riding a rocket. An hour later, Ma Hongjun felt that the energy brought by the soul ring had been consumed, and the soul power increased in his body was already the soul power of self-cultivation. The soul power level had also stabilized. It was over. Ma Hongjun was worried at first that he would not be able to do it well, but now he was finally relieved. As a Douluo fan, seeing is one thing, and experiencing it personally is another thing, which is not simple at all. Ma Hongjun slowly opened his eyes, and the sky was still sunny at this moment. He stood up and said slowly, "Dean, Mr. Xiao, I succeeded. It's good that you succeeded." Flanders smiled. Only Xiao Wuji came to Ma Hongjun and said, "Hongjun, how do you feel now? What changes have your soul skills made?" "My first soul skill has not changed much from the original one. I call it the new Phoenix Fire line, but its power has increased by at least 3 times. 3 times? Flanders was also a little surprised. That's right, my new Phoenix Fire line has not only increased by 3 times. Wasn't it only possible to spray soul skills from my mouth before? Now it can be emitted from my hands. After saying that, Ma Hongjun's purple soul ring lit up, and he immediately used the first soul skill, the new Phoenix Fire line. In his hands, flames surrounded him. Boom. He directly hit the first soul skill on the huge rock next to him, that was more than 1 person tall. The rock was directly broken into several pieces. It has indeed increased by 3 times. It is worthy of being a 1000-year soul skill. The difference in power with the first soul skill is really huge. Flanders analyzed. This first soul skill has a little trick, that is, he can send out 3 Phoenix Fire lines at the same time, from the mouth and the 2 hands. But the power of this Phoenix Fire line may be only half of what it is now, Ma Hongjun said, and used it again. 3 Phoenix Fire lines were sent out at the same time, and Ma Hongjun's soul power consumption was a little more than when he used it just now. Okay, this first soul skill is very good. Zhao Wuji clapped his hands. Thank you, Dean and Teacher Zhao. Thank you. Ma Hongjun bowed to the 2 of them. For these 2 people, this gift is worth it. Both of them also felt that Ma Hongjun has really grown up. Hongjun, I heard someone say that absorbing soul rings beyond the level will greatly increase soul power. How many levels are you now? Flanders asked. Ma Hongjun knew that the person Flanders was talking about was the master, and he answered immediately without hiding it. My soul power has now reached level 17. Level 17. So many? The 2 were shocked again. Ma Hongjun nodded and said deliberately, I don't know, maybe it stimulated my soul power that disappeared a few days ago, maybe it came back a little. In fact, Ma Hongjun was not surprised at all, and the soul power of level 17 was normal. After all, this is not absorbing a soul ring 1 level higher, but 2 levels higher. It is a soul beast over 1500 years old, and it is not far from the limit of the 3rd soul ring. If it weren't for the strong internal force of the fiery sutra and the high energy consumption, it would be very likely to reach level 20 now, and he could go to find the 2nd soul ring on the spot. Moreover, his soul power is relatively low now, so it is normal to improve it a little more. If a person at level 20 absorbs a soul ring of 1500 years, he will definitely not be able to improve his soul power by 6 levels at a time like him. It would be very good to have 3 or 4 levels. The new book is launched. Please support it. There will be 2 updates every day for the new book period. Of course, if everyone recommends it, there will definitely be more updates. Chapter 7 You are a monster, no need to hide. This time, when absorbing the 1500-year-old soul ring, Ma Hongjun still underestimated his body's endurance. He dared to feel that, even if he added another 200 years, it would not be impossible to reach the limit of the 3rd soul ring of ordinary people. It is useless to regret now. Who said that he was not brave enough? However, Ma Hongjun felt very satisfied with the soul ring he had now, and there was still a chance to increase the age of the soul ring in the future. As long as he went back and practiced the 3 sets of exercises in the fiery sutra, his strength could be improved to a higher level. It's getting late. If we hurry up, we can get back to Black Soul Town before dark and return to the academy early tomorrow. Flender said. Okay. On the way, Ma Hongjun's excitement about obtaining the 1000-year soul ring gradually subsided, and he also thought about the troubles that the 1000-year soul ring might bring him. The first soul ring, or 1000 years. I wonder if those powerful soul master researchers will capture it and slice it for research. Looking at Flender and Zhao Wuji walking in front, Ma Hongjun decided to tell Flender and Zhao Wuji his thoughts. Dean, do you think there is a way to hide my 1000-year soul ring? Ma Hongjun asked. Why should we hide it? Flender turned around and asked. My 1000-year soul ring may not have appeared in the history of our Douluo continent. Will it be troublesome if it is exposed like this? Ma Hongjun said. Flender smiled and said, you kid really haven't changed your nature with evil fire, and you still think about these problems. Dean, Teacher Zhao, what should I do? Ma Hongjun continued to ask. The method of hiding or changing the soul ring may be some special soul bones, but unfortunately we don't have such things. Flender paused and said thoughtfully, why should we hide? Have you forgotten the rules of Shrek's Admissions Academy? Flender said. Rules? Only monsters? Ma Hongjun replied. Of course, you are one of the little monsters in our academy. There is no need to hide. If someone dares to come to you for trouble, they have to ask me if I agree or not. Flender said seriously. With me and Flender, even if the Soul Douluo comes, they can't succeed. Ma Hongjun, you kid, don't worry. Zhao Wuji clenched his fists and said. Ma Hongjun was moved, and his heart knot was immediately untied. Thank you, Dean, and Mr. Zhao. He could be considered as Flander's direct disciple, and Flanders was also famous for protecting his own shortcomings. Zhao Wuji knew that he might die, but he was willing to cover the students and face the Titan giant ape alone. Yes, I don't need to hide, and I'm hiding now. You kid, now you have learned to be polite. Let's go quickly, otherwise you won't be able to reach Black Soul Town before dark. Flanders patted Ma Hongjun on the shoulder and said. Speeding up the journey, the three of them returned to Shrek Academy in the afternoon of the next day. Fatty, where have you been with the dean these days? You didn't go to hunt soul beasts, did you? You are only level 26. Did you go to a brothel to relieve your sexual desire? Oscar asked as soon as he came back. Brothel to relieve sexual desire? Ma Hongjun thought of the place where Flanders took him before, which was simply the biggest thing to do with the least money. In the past, Ma Hongjun was really a person who wanted to relieve his sexual desire, and he would accept anyone who came, and he really dared to go to anything. Thinking of it, Ma Hongjun now feels his stomach churning, and he wants to vomit. It is simply a shadow of his life. Of course, Ma Hongjun would not say that he went to the Stardao Great Forest. Although he would not have to hide it in the future, Flanders still asked him to wait for a while. When he obtains the second spirit ring and becomes a great spirit master, he will tell other people in the academy. After all, according to Flanders' rules, Shrek students are at least great spirit masters. Isn't this a slap in his face? Flanders would never do such a slap in the face. Oscar, it's good that you know it. Why do you say it out loud? Ma Hongjun said seriously, the kind of person who doesn't even blush when lying. Really? It seems that this time is very good, and your face is full of red. Oscar smiled. Oscar, what do you think of my training method that day? You are an auxiliary spirit master, so you can exercise more. There is definitely no harm. Ma Hongjun quickly changed the subject. Oscar waved his hand and said, forget it. I'm not mentally ill. No matter how much I train, I'm still an auxiliary spirit master. I can't possibly fight in the front. Ma Hongjun just mentioned it, but he thought to himself, you'll know in a few months. Don't blame me for not reminding you. He said goodbye to Oscar and took a recovery sausage. It was still early, so Ma Hongjun came to the library of Shrek Academy. The library of the academy is managed by Shaozin, a 71st level spirit saint. He is a food type spirit saint, and his martial spirit is sugar beans. Shaozin dressed like a cook, closed his eyes, and enjoyed himself in a rocking chair in front of the library. A cup of steaming tea was placed next to him. Next to the library of Shrek Academy is his dormitory. There is no way. The conditions of the academy are like this. We can only use local materials. It is also convenient to manage. Basically, every teacher has multiple positions. For example, Luke Ibn before, who was in charge of the room allocation of the academy. Flanders is also a talent in management. If the admission standards were lowered, Shrek would definitely not be so miserable. But how could so many geniuses be willing to come here? Teacher Shao, I'm here to borrow some books. Ma Hongjun said respectfully. In his memory, Ma Hongjun didn't seem to have been to this place much before. It's Ma Hongjun. It's rare that you have time to come to the library. The room is not locked. You can go in and pick whatever you want. After you pick it, register with me. No more than 3 books at a time, and they must be returned within 1 month. Okay, thank you. Ma Hongjun thanked. The library of Shrek Academy is not very big, less than 30 square meters. There are 4 bookcases, and it is estimated that there are less than 500 books in total. They all look shabby, and I don't know where Flanders picked them up. An hour later, Ma Hongjun left the library with 3 thick books in his hands. 3 books. One is about explaining soul beasts, one is about martial spirits, and the last one is some miscellaneous talks, recording various strange stories in the history of Douluo continent. After returning home, Ma Hongjun began to make up for his knowledge. Perhaps because of the 2 days of practicing the fiery eye, Ma Hongjun's mental strength has improved. His memory has been strengthened, and the efficiency of reading books to supplement knowledge has been greatly improved. Not to mention that he can remember everything he reads, but he can remember it in his mind after reading it several times, which greatly increases the speed of his reading to supplement knowledge. In the evening, half an hour after dinner, Ma Hongjun once again carried the heavy backpack. This time he increased the weight to 20 kilograms and started running in the square again, breaking through the limit again and again. After running for an hour, Ma Hongjun ate a recovery sausage. There was no one at night, so he could practice the martial arts in the fiery sutra. The fiery palm and the fiery no trace. The two are from the same school, complement each other, and are more powerful when combined. Hey. Under the moonlight, a bloated figure is constantly practicing. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8, Competition, Demonstration of Martial Arts. The following days returned to peace. In the blink of an eye, a month passed quietly. Ma Hongjun exercised during the day, practiced the fiery fire sutra and its supporting martial arts at night, and made up for the basic knowledge of soul masters in his spare time. Flanders did not let him participate in any teaching activities of Shrek Academy, as if he was independent of Shrek. In a month, the weight loss exercise had already taken effect, and the fat on his belly had shrunk. With his crazy exercise, he lost 13 pounds in a month. In another 2 months, Ma Hongjun felt that he should be able to have a normal body. In his previous life, he was also a fat man, but through exercise and controlled diet, he lost 36 pounds in less than 4 months, and said goodbye to obesity. Weight loss depends on perseverance. Often the fat loss effect in the first month is not so good, which makes many dieters give up. But in fact, the best weight loss effect is in the second and third months of perseverance. In the fourth month, you will encounter a bottleneck and the effect may be smaller than the first month. This month, Ma Hongjun's gains are not only the loss of weight. More importantly, his soul power has increased. The progress of practicing the fiery fire sutra is very fast, which seems to be because he has practiced to level 26 before. This time, it was considered a new practice. There was no obstacle in practicing. In 1 month, his soul power was raised to the peak of level 18. He had already started practicing the 2 major martial arts, fiery palm and fiery traceless, but he still lacked a little bit of maturity and coordination. At night, as usual, Ma Hongjun practiced fiery palm and fiery traceless in the square of Shrek Academy. Just as he was about to practice, Ma Hongjun saw a tall figure walking out of the square. When he walked in, he saw that it was Dame Yubei. Boss Day, you didn't spend the night in the city tonight. It's a miracle, Ma Hongjun shouted, and he still didn't change his original name. He really didn't care about the name. For example, in his previous life, if you were called the boss, did you really become the boss? Are handsome men and beautiful women really beautiful women and handsome men? Fatty, you are still practicing here. Why don't you follow the dean and me to the Soto City Great Soul Fighting Arena to fight? It stands to reason that you should be able to participate at level 26. Ma Hongjun thought to himself, if I have the ability to participate, why am I still here? At least participating in the soul fighting can win some money to improve my life. Instead of relying on the monthly subsidy from the Spirit Hall, more than 80% of which is given to Flanders. I don't know either. The dean must have other arrangements. It seems that you haven't been to the Great Soul Arena for a long time. Ma Hongjun asked curiously. More than a year ago, after Dame Yubei broke through level 30 and became a soul master, he lost more than 10 games in a row. His opponents were all soul masters above level 37 or 38. He was no match at all. After losing so many times, he simply stopped fighting. Ma Hongjun remembered that before he crossed over, Flanders seemed to be preparing to let Ma Hongjun participate. Unfortunately, when he came, his soul power dropped, so he didn't mention it again. Dame Yubei smiled bitterly and said, it's not that I have been at the peak of level 36 for a few months. The dean wants me to break through in the battle. How is the recent record? Ma Hongjun asked. He knew that this was Dean Flanders urging Daemube to practice. This guy's rich and handsome, and spends most of his time among flowers. If this guy worked hard to cultivate, he might have become a soul master by now. Daemube's talent is second to none, and his resources are not comparable to those of ordinary people. Daemube smiled and said, I have won 3 battles recently, and 2 of them were level 38 soul masters. Now my record has reached 27 wins and 23 losses. Congratulations, you will reach level 37 in less than 2 months. Ma Hongjun congratulated him. In his memory, Daemube and Tangsun met each other 2 months after Tangsun entered school. At that time, Daemube was level 37. I hope so. It will be much more difficult to cultivate after reaching level 30. Come on, fatty, I'm happy today. Let's spar. Daemube took the initiative to propose. In Ma Hongjun's memory, Daemube was beaten a lot in the previous sparring with him, and his soul power was reduced. Even if his first soul skill was so amazing, it was not as good as Daemube at level 36. Boss Day, you bullied me before, but you thought I was always so stupid. You are a level 36 soul master, how could I be your opponent? Ma Hongjun complained. Daemube said, you have been practicing hard for a while, so let me see the results of your practice. If you win, I will give you 10 gold soul coins. How about that? Boss Day, are you doing charity? But I have a request. You can't use soul power, just fight with fists and feet. How about that? Ma Hongjun said, in this way he still has a chance to win. Just fight with fists and feet. Daemube asked doubtfully. Yes, although my soul power is not as strong as yours, I may not lose to you in fists and feet now. Ma Hongjun said. In this way, they can fight and hide their current martial arts. More importantly, he has been practicing Fiery Palm and Fiery Traceless without actual combat, which has led to slow progress in his 2 martial arts. Daemube thought for a while and said, okay, no problem, don't use martial arts and soul skills, just fight with fists and feet. Ma Hongjun picked up a pile of dry firewood from the edge of the square, and then touched it lightly with soul power, and the dry firewood began to burn. The square instantly became bright again, and then Ma Hongjun found a stone, and drew a circle with a diameter of about 10 meters on the square. Whoever falls out of the circle will also be considered a loser. Ma Hongjun said. No problem. Daemube said. In fact, he has always been curious about Ma Hongjun's changes in the past month, especially when he sometimes returns to the academy at night and sees Ma Hongjun practicing, so he had the idea of sparring with him. Let's start. Ma Hongjun prepared for the fiery palm. Strange move. Daemube's eyes flashed with evil, and his right fist suddenly raised, rushing forward, and rushed straight to Ma Hongjun. The move was simple, without any fancy moves. The momentum of this punch instantly brought the power and speed to the peak, which could never be achieved without rich practical experience. Ma Hongjun did not retreat, because retreating would cause his momentum to fall. He saw his left leg slightly bent, his right arm bent inward, his right foot stepped on the universe, and his right hand turned into a palm, to meet Daemube's punch head on. This is the first move of the fiery palm. The fiery palm has no regrets, and there is no regret when it is launched. It is fierce and unparalleled. Although there is no internal force bonus, the power is definitely not weak. With a thud, palm against fist, hard hitting, Daemube's forward body stopped abruptly, and both of them took 2 or 3 steps back. A glimmer of surprise appeared in Daemube's eyes. He didn't expect that Ma Hongjun could catch his punch like this today. Not bad, you have improved a lot. Let's do it again. Daemube became interested, spread his body, and flew into the air, to pounce on Ma Hongjun. Okay, come on. Ma Hongjun said excitedly, and for the first time, he felt the desire to fight in his heart. Chapter 9 Weight Loss Success, Level 20. Ma Hongjun's fighting spirit rose, and he was also ready to face Daemube's new round of attacks. He remembered the appearance of this attack, which was one of Daemube's special skills. He saw his limbs stretched out strangely, as if his whole body was full of flaws, but the slight movement of Daemube's limbs seemed to have endless backup moves. Ma Hongjun's face changed slightly. Daemube's move was extremely powerful and varied. Fiery fire without trace. It is better to take the initiative to attack than to accept the attack on the spot. The use of fiery fire without trace instantly increased Ma Hongjun's speed. Daemyubei did not expect Ma Hongjun to take the initiative to attack, but he was not afraid of anyone in this state. No, this speed. Is it still fatty? Daemyubei said in surprise. Seeing that Daemyubei was actually a little hesitant, Ma Hongjun moved to his side with a flash and slapped Daemyubei on the shoulder. Daemyubei fell down immediately. Fortunately, he was very experienced in combat. His tiger waist twisted in the air, his body rotated a circle and a half, and landed steadily on the ground. But just when Daemyubei's feet landed, Ma Hongjun's next move was already ready. With the fiery fire, Ma Hongjun accidentally combined them perfectly. He hit Daemyubei's chest with a palm and flew out. This attack can be said to be a perfect attack. Originally, he didn't coordinate the two martial arts very well, but just now he performed it perfectly. Ma Hongjun's palm was not light. He used the power generating technique of the fiery palm. Although there was no internal force, the power was not comparable to ordinary palm power. Boste, you are out of the circle. Ma Hongjun smiled. He had just absorbed the 1500-year soul ring. In terms of physical strength and strength, he was more than a little stronger than the original 26th level Ma Hongjun. What's more, there are two major martial arts bonuses. Without using soul power, Ma Hongjun still has a chance to win. But if the soul power is used, the difference between the two is 18 levels, and Ma Hongjun has no chance of winning. Daemyubei was obviously hesitant just now, which led to Ma Hongjun's two consecutive attacks, just knocking Daemyubei out of the circle. I lost. Daemyubei stood up, and found that he was already standing outside the circle. Ma Hongjun, what are these skills? Why haven't I seen you use them before? Daemyubei said, not seeming to be angry about losing the competition. These are the skills I have been studying for a long time. I created two soul skills. How about it? Not bad. Ma Hongjun said with a smile. Daemyubei obviously didn't believe it, and said, you can also create soul skills by yourself? Ma Hongjun said, of course. Don't look down on me. If I use soul power, the power is more than this. Okay, then let's use soul power and compete again. Daemyubei said eagerly. Boste, I think it's better to forget it. I'm definitely not as good as you in using soul power. You can't refuse to pay 10 gold soul coins. Ma Hongjun said with a smile. Let him compete again, or forget it. Okay, here you go. Daemyubei took out 10 gold soul coins, and handed them to Ma Hongjun, then turned and left. It might be because of the face that he couldn't get through, or it might be that he really had something to do. Ma Hongjun was very happy to get 10 gold soul coins. Continue to practice. However, starting from today, Ma Hongjun seemed to have really irritated Daemyubei. In the next half month, Daemyubei came to Ma Hongjun every night to spar with him. They fought a total of 16 times. From the second night on, he lost 3 games in a row. Ma Hongjun realized that he was lucky to win last time. First, Daemyubei underestimated himself, and second, Daemyubei was injured in the big fighting soul field during the day, which allowed him to win by chance. It was not until the 8th night of the two people sparring that Ma Hongjun finally won. In the last 8 battles, Ma Hongjun won 4 and lost 4, and he was already on par with Daemyubei in terms of boxing and kicking. But before that, he had 2 wins and 6 losses, and his overall record with Daemyubei was 6 wins and 10 losses. After that, Daemyubei did not come to Ma Hongjun to spar until he reached level 37, and he suddenly became the playboy he used to be. It seemed that after Daemyubei broke through, Flanders had not cared about him, nor had he gone to the Great Soul Arena, nor had he come to him. The 16 rounds of fist and foot sparring also made Ma Hongjun gain a lot. The two martial arts had already achieved a small success, reaching the level of skillful coordination. The soul power also successfully broke through to level 19. At this moment, Ma Hongjun had no pride at all. He knew that in terms of fists and feet, Tang San, who was level 29, could easily suppress Daemyubei. He was only about the same as Daemyubei now, and was still a little far from Tang San's level. However, Ma Hongjun believed that, as long as he worked hard, it would not be a problem to defeat Tang San and surpass him. After careful comparison, Ma Hongjun felt that he was no worse than anyone else. Not even Tang-san. You have the clear sky hammer, but don't I have the Zirang divine spear? You have the blue silver emperor, but don't I have the fiery phoenix? There is also the fiery sutra, etc. And he is familiar with the plot. Ma Hongjun found that his goal of becoming a god was a little too low. After all, the fiery fire sutra has 12 levels. Becoming a god is just the starting point, not the end. With a new direction and motivation, Ma Hongjun practiced harder and used all the methods he knew to train his body strength. With the help of Oscar's recovery sausage every day, he could practice for a long time, and it can be said that one day is as good as 2 days. There is even a new nickname for Ma Hongjun in the academy, Wasp, which means that Ma Hongjun is crazy. In a blink of an eye, another month and a half has passed. It was the 93rd day since Ma Hongjun came to this world. On this day, Ma Hongjun rarely went out to practice in the morning. Some teachers even felt a little uncomfortable when they didn't see Ma Hongjun coming out to practice. However, Ma Hongjun was not idle at this moment. He was practicing cross-legged in the room. The fiery fire sutra circulated throughout his body, and his whole body was glowing with fiery red halos, and a trace of internal force gathered in his dinshin. After an unknown amount of time, the fiery red halo on Ma Hongjun's body gradually disappeared. He opened his eyes and murmured, "Level 20, success." From level 17 to level 20, 3 soul power levels. He only took 3 months, 90 days. Although the speed of recultivation is much faster than before, it took Ma Hongjun 90 days and nights of hard work to achieve it. Ma Hongjun stood up and came to the mirror. With a short red mohawk and a well-proportioned figure, he was not fat at all at the moment. He lost 13 pounds in the first month, 18 pounds in the second month, and 15 pounds in the third month, a total of 46 pounds in 3 months. Including his height has also increased a little, now over 1.6 meters. As the saying goes, one fat ruins everything, one thin hides 100 ugliness. Although the handsomeness is still a little bit inferior to the bitch faces of Douluo and Oscar, it is not far behind. Ma Hongjun looked at himself now with some pride and said, "This is the real me, but my clothes are no longer so fitting. It's time to change." At this moment, he was still wearing his old clothes, which were now like a robe on him. Chapter 10, Treat, First Meeting. As soon as Ma Hongjun went out, he ran into Oscar. "Ma Hongjun, I didn't expect that you look pretty good after losing weight. Do you need my sausage today?" Oscar said. "I'm taking a rest today. I don't need it. I'm going to Soto City once. I haven't received the Soul Master subsidy for this month yet," Ma Hongjun said. Oscar was surprised and said, "You haven't gone yet. This is the last day. If you don't go, you will automatically give up." In the past, Oscar knew that Ma Hongjun went on the first day he could receive the subsidy. After receiving it, he went to the brothel to have fun. "That's why I went today. Do you want to come with me? Your sausage has helped me a lot during this period. How about treating you to a good meal?" Ma Hongjun said with a smile. For 3 months, Ma Hongjun had Oscar make a big recovery sausage for himself every day. He had no way to repay Oscar, so he could only use this method at present. "Haha, you still have a conscience. Since someone is treating me, I won't be polite." Oscar smiled evilly, as if he was going to slaughter Ma Hongjun. After leaving Shrek, the two walked for about an hour, and arrived at Soto City. The two came to the spirit hall, showed the spirit master's notebook, and successfully received 10 gold soul coins. Adding the one obtained from Douluo in the first battle, and subtracting the one given to the academy, Ma Hongjun now only has 12 gold soul coins and 8 silver soul coins. After leaving the spirit hall, Ma Hongjun immediately went to order 5 sets of clothes, which cost a whole gold soul coin. You know, 1 gold soul coin can last an ordinary family 3 months. 5 sets of clothes are quite expensive. Ma Hongjun, why do you spend so much money to order clothes? The clothes made by the tailor in the village can be done with 2 or 3 copper soul coins. It's a waste, Oscar said with some confusion. You don't understand this. Clothes make the man. If you don't dress yourself up, won't your first impression be ruined when you meet a beautiful woman in the future? After saying that, Ma Hongjun leaned close to Oscar's ear and said, "I advise you to order a few good sets. Maybe there will be a few beautiful women in the college this time. Don't regret it then." "Really?" Oscar looked at Ma Hongjun with an unbelieving expression. Of course, I can't be false. I'm not worse than you now, Ma Hongjun said. It's really a happy occasion. How can Ma Hongjun not be happy? Losing weight and upgrading, double happiness. How can he not be happy? Oscar thought for a while and said, boss, I want 5 sets too. The clothes couldn't be obtained for a while, so Ma Hongjun went to the blacksmith shop again and ordered 20 kilograms of iron beads with a silver soul coin. In his training equipment, the days of carrying stones in the backpack are over. He changed to clothes sewn with cloth and filled with iron beads, and there were also 2 hands and legs. Ma Hongjun made one for each of these 4 places. There are 20 kilograms of iron sandbags in the clothes, 5 kilograms for each hand and 5 kilograms for each foot. If he absorbs the spirit ring this time, his physical strength will increase again, so the current equipment must be upgraded accordingly, and the 20 kilograms are ready to be added. Ma Hongjun has been persuading Oscar to exercise, but he has not listened, thinking that exercise will not have any great effect. After doing all this, it is finally time for dinner. Oscar can't wait to ask what to eat today. Don't worry, I'll go to the dean's store first. I have something to do with the dean, Ma Hongjun said. Don't worry, you are going to hook again. My evil fire problem has been solved. I don't need to go again. Don't mention it again in the future, Ma Hongjun said angrily. Recalling that place, Ma Hongjun wanted to vomit, and it almost caused him a shadow. If he is impotent in the future, it will be all due to this influence. I really want to erase the unbearable memories of his previous life. Flanders is really looking for cheapness. What kind of people are they looking for? It really solved it, Oscar said. Ma Hongjun smiled and said, otherwise, how could I be like this now? The two crossed a street and went straight to Flanders' shop. Why are you here? Flanders asked. Dean, Ma Hongjun made a 2-point gesture. Flanders spent most of his time in the shop in Soto City, so Ma Hongjun also came here to find him. Flanders immediately understood and said, I know. But just as Ma Hongjun was about to leave, Oscar, the idiot, said, Dean, Ma Hongjun said he wants to treat us to a meal. Flanders immediately stood up from the recliner and said, let's go right away. Ma Hongjun was speechless. Is this the legendary pig teammate? At noon. Oscar, go and talk to them and ask them to give you 2 more of these 2 dishes and another one of that one. Well, I want this one too, Oscar said. Ma Hongjun, is this enough for you? It's rare to come out for a meal to improve your life. Oscar looked at Ma Hongjun with a harmless look. Ma Hongjun's heart was bleeding at the moment. He was introduced to such a high-end restaurant by Flanders. This meal would cost at least 5 gold soul coins. But it was indeed for weight loss. Just eat until you meet your body's needs. If you eat too much, some of it will turn into fat. After all, he knew that his physique was prone to obesity and he couldn't eat too much. A lunch directly cost Ma Hongjun 6 gold soul coins, which was painful. Now he has become a poor ghost again, with less than 6 gold soul coins on him. Wow, this meal is so delicious. It's the first time in my life that I have eaten so well, Oscar said. He couldn't bear to eat these things. After all, his wealth was not much different from Ma Hongjun. This is nothing. When you become stronger in the future, you can have whatever you want to eat. Keep practicing, and you will have everything in the future, Ma Hongjun said. In the afternoon, Ma Hongjun and Oscar got their clothes and changed into them immediately. Suddenly, Ma Hongjun felt that his temperament was different. The fiery red clothes matched his red hair. Especially now, he looks like a young man, and he is completely different from the previous Ma Hongjun. Even Oscar's new clothes have added to his appearance. It is true that clothes make the man, but the premise is that you have to be a clothes hanger. Carrying the 20 kilograms of iron beads and clothes in the bag, Ma Hongjun and his partner walked towards Shrek. Before leaving the city, Oscar pulled Ma Hongjun and shouted, look, there is a beauty over there. Beauty? Ma Hongjun also turned his head to look over. There was a tall and beautiful girl in white clothes who looked about 12 or 13 years old, followed by 1 or 2 women walking on the street. The girl seemed to have never seen the world and was curious about everything. Ma Hongjun felt that this was just like the TV shows he had watched in his previous life. A beautiful girl like this, and the configuration around her must have a very simple identity, and they could not afford to offend her now. Oscar, stop looking. Let's go. No matter how beautiful she is not yours. Ma Hongjun reminded him, based on the principle of less trouble is more trouble. Such a beautiful girl is so rare. I have to take a few more glances. It's good to satisfy my eyes. Oscar's eyes were about to fall out. This was Oscar's current personality. He had a low resistance to beautiful women. I have to say that the girl in front of him was indeed very beautiful and stunning. Although she was not very old, she could be described as so beautiful that she could make fish sink to the bottom of the water, geese drop to the ground, birds startle, and flowers hide in shame and the moon tremble. Fortunately, Ma Hongjun was not the same Ma Hongjun as before, otherwise he would definitely go up to chat with her and want to have sex with her the next second. Who knew that the girl discovered them? She flashed in front of Ma Hongjun and Oscar and asked Oscar, "Uncle, what are you looking at?" Chapter 11, Frost Dragon Leng Xuanja. Oscar kept his beard, and it was normal for him to be called an uncle at the age of 14. But Oscar was unhappy and said, "What uncle? Haven't you seen a handsome guy like me?" The girl in white laughed and said, "How can there be a handsome guy like you? You look like a middle-aged man with a full beard. The guy next to you barely counts." Oscar didn't expect that one day he would lose a lot of points because of his beard. "Thank you for your compliment, beautiful lady. We have something else to do, so we'll leave first." Ma Hongjun smiled. As the saying goes, don't hit a smiling person, and everyone loves nice words. Ma Hongjun quickly pulled Oscar and ran away. Oscar wanted to refute, but was pulled away by Ma Hongjun. "Hey, who is the uncle? Explain it to me clearly." Oscar was still angry, but his strength was no match for Ma Hongjun, and he was dragged away. When Ma Hongjun and Oscar disappeared from the sight of the beautiful girl, the two women behind her came forward. "Miss, the boy in red clothes just now is not simple. You should be more careful in the future, and don't chat with people like this casually," the woman said. "Isn't it just a conversation? What's so special about that person?" the girl in white asked. "The boy in red clothes just now is about your age. He should have something heavy in his bag, at least 20 kilograms. He dragged the man next to him away without using any soul power, and he was able to maintain a stable breath and walk like the wind. Do you think such a person is simple? Is this boy's talent better than mine?" The girl in white's eyes lit up, and she became interested. The woman nodded and said, "It is possible. There are many people with high talents in this world, and even those with innate full soul power, but there are not many in the entire continent. So miss, your innate 9th level soul, plus the top level mutant martial soul, even if you have innate full soul power, may not be able to match you. Let's not waste time here. Let's go to Wuhan City quickly, otherwise we will miss the enrollment time." "No, I want to go and see what kind of talent this person has. Maybe he will also go to Wuhan Hall Academy." The white girl's curiosity was aroused in an instant. She ran in the direction of Ma Hongjun and Oscar. One of the slightly fat women sighed and said, "Miss, you are too playful. Fortunately, this place is only 3 days away from Wuhan City, and there are still 6 days before the registration time. If Miss is still like this by then, I will tie her up." Another slender woman said, "This time when I go back, I must shave my beard and see who still calls me uncle." Oscar was angry like a young wife all the way. "Have you decided?" Ma Hongjun said with a smile, accidentally changing a small plot. Originally, Oscar shaved his beard after those beauties entered the school, but now he shaved it in advance. "Of course, I will shave it when I return to the academy," Oscar said firmly. Suddenly, Ma Hongjun frowned. "Someone followed us." Ma Hongjun practiced the fiery eyes for 3 months, and his mental power has been upgraded to the Soul Master level. His ability to sense the surroundings is much stronger than Oscar. "What are you doing with us?" Oscar said. The two looked back and saw that it was the woman in white in Soto City just now. Ma Hongjun also took Oscar away because his current soul power was not high and Oscar had no fighting power. He didn't want to cause trouble, so he took Oscar away, but he didn't expect the other party to follow him. The two women behind the white-clothed girl were calm and unhurried. "Hello, what is your innate soul power level?" the woman asked curiously. Ma Hongjun was stunned. What kind of line is this? Who asked this right at the beginning? My talent is average innate level 4. Ma Hongjun certainly would not tell his true innate soul power level. The girl in white was thoughtful and disappointed. No way, how could you be innate level 4? Little sister, why don't you ask me? My soul power is not low, Oscar said proudly. In terms of innate soul power, Oscar has already stood at the top of the pyramid. TSK, I don't want to know your soul power level, the girl in white said disdainfully. Oscar was immediately dissatisfied and said loudly, I'm not afraid to tell you, brother, I have innate full soul power. Ma Hongjun was still thinking about stopping him. Oscar's answer was too fast. He was still too young and inexperienced. The girl in white chuckled. She didn't believe it at all. You can meet people with innate full soul power casually, she said. You are innate full soul power. Don't joke. She was only interested in Ma Hongjun now. She looked at Ma Hongjun with her beautiful eyes and said, what is your innate soul power? You can't fool me. It's really innate level 4. Ma Hongjun said. I don't believe it, unless you show your martial soul and soul ring and let me see your soul power level, the girl in white said angrily. Ma Hongjun certainly didn't want to reveal all this now, so he replied, I think it's better not to. Okay, in that case, I'll test your strength. The girl in white rushed towards Ma Hongjun after she finished speaking. Okay, I'll say, my soul power is innate level 9. Okay. Ma Hongjun didn't want to fight, so he answered. But the girl in white still didn't believe it, so she said, I don't believe it, let's compete. As soon as the girl in white finished speaking, she immediately completed the martial soul possession, and 2 yellow soul rings surrounded her body. The martial soul turned out to be a mutant martial soul, the Frost Dragon. My name is Leng Xuanja, from the extreme north Snow City, a level 27 strong attack system Great Soul Master. The girl in white introduced herself. Oscar saw this and quickly hid behind a boulder not far away. This is the practice of a regular auxiliary system soul master. Mahan looked at the 2 women behind Leng Xuanja, and there was no intention to stop him. It seems that this battle must be fought, otherwise if the old man takes action, things will be out of control. Ma Hongjun, from Shrek Academy, a level 20 strong attack spirit master. This was the first time that Ma Hongjun had revealed his martial spirit and spirit ring in the past 3 months. Fire Phoenix. 1000-year spirit ring. Oscar was also stunned. Wasn't the familiar Ma Hongjun level 26? Could it be that the one in front of him was a fake? Oscar shuddered when he thought of Ma Hongjun's abnormal behavior during this period. In fact, Leng Xuanja's release of martial spirit caused the surrounding temperature to drop. Leng Xuanja asked curiously, you're still a spirit master, but why is your first spirit ring 1000 years old? Are you scared? Ma Hongjun laughed. Humph, you're asking for a fight. Leng Xuanja directly activated her first spirit skill, Frost Strike. For a moment, it was like a frost wind, and it actually formed 2 icicles in an instant and hit Ma Hongjun. That's it? Ma Hongjun smiled with a sidelong glance, and he didn't need to use his first spirit skill at all. He saw his hands turn into palms, and the flames gathered in his hands. Fiery Palm. You dared to take on the lady's first spirit skill without using any spirit skills? The 2 women behind were surprised. Chapter 12 Habitual Actions. 2 icicles came at him, and Ma Hongjun caught one with one hand. Water can put out fire, but fire can also melt ice and snow. Oh no, it's so powerful. Ma Hongjun supported himself with both palms, and his legs actually took a step back under the powerful force of the icicles. The cold soul power and strength were extraordinary. As expected of the top martial soul of the ancient type, the Frost Dragon was indeed different. It looked like 2 ordinary icicles, but they had such a powerful power. However, my Fiery Phoenix is not a vegetarian, and I have practiced the Fiery Sutra, which also increased the flame attribute of my soul power. Melt it for me, Ma Hongjun shouted, and a strong flame burst out from his palms, instantly wrapping Leng Xuanja's icicle. In the blink of an eye, it melted and disappeared under Ma Hongjun's scorching flames. Leng Xuanja's beautiful eyes showed surprise. For the first time, her first soul skill was treated like this, and it was even melted by the opponent's flames. Ice and fire, the 2 have a restraining effect on each other. During her training, the family also found some soul masters with different attributes to fight with her, but without exception, these soul masters could not melt her first soul skill so easily. The elders of the family told her that, in order to melt her ice like this, either the opponent's soul power is very different from hers, or the martial soul level is similar to hers or higher. And the boy in front of her, Ma Hongjun, was able to melt easily, even though his soul power was 7 levels lower than hers, and he had 1 less soul ring. This shows that the martial soul of the boy in front of her is only higher than hers. Ma Hongjun's martial soul has been transformed by the mark of the artifact. Although it is still called the Fiery Phoenix, it is not an ordinary top-level martial soul. I think we should not fight, it will hurt the harmony. Let's make friends. Ma Hongjun smiled. The other party is definitely a genius, a monster level. Leng Xuanzhi was not convinced, a little unconvinced, and said, beat me first, let's talk about it, let alone making friends. Even if it's a love relationship, what's wrong? As soon as the voice fell, Leng Xuanzhi couldn't believe that he had just said such a shameful thing. But in a blink of an eye, Leng Xuanzhi felt that it was no big deal. After all, she had never lost among her peers. As long as she didn't lose, this sentence didn't count. The slightly plump woman behind her said, should we stop the young lady? She's a bit ridiculous. I don't think so. This boy's not ordinary. It's rare for the young lady to meet an opponent of the same age. Let her fight first. Another woman said. Until then, Oscar had been watching in the corner of the boulder, thinking, has the spring of the fat man come? No, he shouldn't be called a fat man now. Ma Hongjun was also stunned. Such words were a bit unexpected. Leng Xuanzhi saw that Ma Hongjun was a little distracted, smiled, and rushed towards Ma Hongjun with both fists clenched. Seeing Leng Xuanzhi coming, Ma Hongjun was also ready to fight back. The competition with Damu Bei had improved his combat experience by more than 1 level. Palm to fist. With a sound of collision, the moment the fists and palms met, Ma Hongjun grabbed Leng Xuanzhi's hands. Leng Xuanzhi wanted to break free, but she didn't know that Ma Hongjun's strength was so great that she couldn't break free. Then a cold breath of frost came, and Leng Xuanzhi's fist was full of cold breath. Ma Hongjun smiled in his heart and said, you seem to be very cold, I can help you warm up. Suddenly, the hands of the two people became a contest of ice and fire. Time passed slowly, and the soul power of the two people was constantly output. For a while, it became a situation where no one could do anything to the other. However, only Leng Xuanzhi knew that it was always her who wanted to break free but couldn't, and her soul power attribute was completely restrained by the other party. Damn it. Leng Xuanzhi's competitive spirit rose. She has always suppressed others, and no one has ever been able to suppress her. The next second, Leng Xuanzhi's 2 yellow soul rings slowly lit up. Ma Hongjun secretly thought it was not good, and suddenly felt that his hands were about to be unable to hold, and Leng Xuanzhi's hands changed and began to swell. Moreover, the frost and cold air contained in those hands was added, which made his hands feel like they were frozen and burned. Ma Hongjun quickly released his hands and used his body movement to use the fiery fire without trace. He twisted his feet backwards and retreated several meters. At this moment, Leng Xuanzhi's hands had turned into snow-white dragon claws. Although her martial soul was a frost dragon, the dragon claws were not huge. They were formed by simply expanding her hands. This was her second soul skill, the frost claw. With this soul skill, her strength and defense would increase by 60%, and the power of frost would also increase by 20%. Leng Xuanzhi was about to attack, but she didn't expect Ma Hongjun to escape 3 meters away so quickly. The speed was amazing. Why did you run away? Let's do it again. Leng Xuanzhi said seriously. Ma Hongjun's purple soul ring lit up again, and he smiled and said, how can this be called running? Let you taste my first soul skill. The purple soul ring was still so dazzling, and everyone stared at Ma Hongjun's soul ring as soon as it appeared. Miss, be careful. The slightly fat woman behind her quickly reminded. The first soul ring is a 1000-year soul skill, and its power must be extraordinary, and it must not be comparable to the 100-year soul ring. In the blink of an eye, Ma Hongjun sent out 3 new phoenix fire lines, which seemed to be unavoidable. Leng Xuanzhi's face was solemn, and her body retreated. After using her second soul skill, She activated her first soul skill again at the same time. The cold frost breath appeared again and instantly formed two huge icicles to block her. It seemed that under the effect of her second soul skill, the power of his first soul skill was enhanced and the icicles were bigger than before. It was twice as big as before. Leng Xuanji's body was originally slender and two icicles could completely cover her. Boom. There was only a crashing sound, like the sound of broken glass. 3 consecutive new phoenix fire lines hit the icicles, breaking them instantly. This was no longer using fire to slowly melt the ice and snow, but a truly powerful offensive move. Leng Xuanji was so scared that she took 2 steps back and she was very panicked. How is it possible? The defense of my first soul skill with the cooperation of the second soul skill was broken just like that. Beautiful lady, you lost. Suddenly, Leng Xuanji felt a little hot on her neck. When did you come here? Leng Xuanji took a breath of cold air. She was defeated. At this time, Ma Hongjun's right hand was already pinching Leng Xuanji's neck, and it can be said that he could end her life at any time. Miss, stop it. Let go of the young lady. The 2 women seemed to be a little anxious. Their martial spirits were released at the same time, and they turned out to be a 6-ring Soul Emperor and a 5-ring Soul King. Leng Xuanji said calmly, don't worry about me, I lost. It turned out that there was such a powerful genius in the world besides her. Ma Hongjun didn't want to do anything to Leng Xuanji. After all, there was a Soul Emperor and a Soul King behind Leng Xuanji, and he couldn't afford to offend her at the moment. He just wanted to end the battle as soon as possible. The other party admitted defeat, so Ma Hongjun had to let go, but he subconsciously picked it up and sniffed it, thinking that the smell and feel were good, but a little cold. You. Leng Xuanji seemed a little angry. Ma Hongjun suddenly felt that something was wrong with the aura and quickly explained, sorry, that was just a habitual action. Now we can go. Chapter 13, Stealing from Spirit Hall. Ma Hongjun carefully recalled the plot of the Douluo novel in his mind. This character should have never appeared. She is about the same age as him, with a soul power of level 27 and an ancient frost dragon martial spirit. She should not be unknown, but now she appears in Soto City. Leng Xuanji snorted coldly and said, is this a habitual action? I think you are doing it on purpose. Who are you? Or are you Ma Hongjun? Oscar stood out from behind the boulder and asked nervously. Ignoring Leng Xuanji, Ma Hongjun said to Oscar, of course I'm me, who else can I be? As for my soul ring problem, I will explain it to you when I go back. The 2 were about to leave, but unfortunately, would anyone let them go? Wait a minute, help me stop them. The 2 left quickly without looking back, and Leng Xuanji had to say to the 2 women. Ma Hongjun thought to himself, not good, are you going to cross the river and destroy the bridge? Before Ma Hongjun and the others could react, one of the slightly fat women had blocked their way, revealing 5 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple and 1 black. The Soul King level aura was released and pressed towards the 2 of them, as if to express dissatisfaction with Ma Hongjun's pinching of Leng Xuanji's neck just now. However, it was the pressure of the Soul King realm after all. Ordinary Great Soul Masters might not be able to bear it, but the 2 of them had experienced the pressure of the Soul Saint level aura. Facing the sudden Soul King level, it didn't seem to be a big deal. The slightly fat woman and the other woman showed a little surprise. They knew that the young man in front of them was not simple. He remained calm under the pressure of her aura. Do you want to leave like this? Ma Hongjun's face was solemn. This was the rhythm of a fight. He turned his eyes to Oscar and whispered, if they attack, I will help you stop them. You run quickly and go back to get help. Okay. Oscar answered readily. As an auxiliary soul master, he knew his ability. If he found Zhao Wuji or Dean Flanders quickly, he would have a chance to save Ma Hongjun. What else do you want to do? Ma Hongjun looked directly at Leng Xuanji. Actually, I still have. Before Leng Xuanji could finish, she felt a strong aura approaching. The 2 women suddenly looked solemn, and this aura was extraordinary. Oscar said happily, it's the Dean. The Dean is here. Up there? The 2 women looked up at the sky at the same time. Above Ma Hongjun and Oscar's heads, Flanders' soul ring slowly lit up, and he put away his flying soul skills. As he landed, 7 soul rings appeared one by one. 7 ring Soul Saint. The 2 women stood still. They didn't expect that the other party would have helped us so soon. Flanders landed next to Ma Hongjun and Oscar and said coldly, "You have a soul emperor and a soul king, and you actually bullied 2 children. Let me meet you." With Flanders' appearance, Ma Hongjun and Oscar felt relieved and safe. The slightly plump woman quickly stood together with the tall and thin middle-aged woman, protecting Leng Xuanja behind her, and said, "Miss, don't worry, we will definitely protect you." Leng Xuanja seemed to have something to say. She walked a few steps to the front and said loudly, "You misunderstood. I actually haven't finished what I want to say." Suddenly, Leng Xuanja's face, which looked cold and white, actually flushed a few times, and she said very quietly, "You just beat me. I want to say that we can be friends." The voice was very small, so small that even the 2 women behind her could only hear a little bit clearly. Ma Hongjun and Oscar only saw Leng Xuanja open her mouth to speak, and didn't hear clearly what she said. Flanders smiled knowingly, and put away his spirit ring in an instant. Among the people present, perhaps no one except Leng Xuanja could hear it more clearly than him. But when he released his martial spirit and opened his spirit ring, the 4-eyed cat owl had superb hearing, and such a small voice could not escape Flanders' ears. "What did you say? I didn't hear it clearly. Can you say it again?" Ma Hongjun said directly. Leng Xuanja's face turned even redder, and she suddenly said a little loudly, "I say, we can be friends. Shouldn't we be in love?" Ma Hongjun replied immediately. With Flanders present, there was nothing to be afraid of. As the saying goes, it's good to take shelter under a big tree. "You." Leng Xuanja suddenly turned her head, which was so embarrassing that she didn't even look at Ma Hongjun and others. This battle should not be fought. The 2 women ignored Leng Xuanja and stepped forward to bow to Flanders with one hand on their chest. Leng Xuan, the 62nd level Battle Soul Emperor greets the senior. Leng Ling, the 53rd level Battle Soul King greets the senior. "We are from the Frost Python family of the extreme North Snow City. This is Leng Xuanja, the daughter of the current clan leader Leng Zan. Her martial soul is the top martial soul Frost Dragon, which is a mutation of the Frost Spirit Python." Ma Hongjun smiled in his heart. This is actually a Leng Xuan Ling combination. It's incredible. It must be said that Leng Xuanja is lucky. Her martial soul successfully mutated from the Frost Python into the Frost Dragon. It was a world of difference compared to the master. You know, he had the chance to mutate into a golden holy dragon, which was even more powerful than the Frost Dragon. Flanders seemed to be lost in memories, and smiled. "It turned out to be that kid Leng Zan. I met him more than 10 years ago. At that time, he was still a Soul King. I didn't expect that he has become the clan leader now. Let me introduce myself. Flanders, a level 78 fighting Soul Saint." It turned out to be level 78. The 2 were glad that they didn't fight just now, and the other party actually knew the clan leader of their family, which made it much easier to deal with. It didn't look like an enemy. So the senior and the clan leader know each other. That's great. "How is your clan leader now? Did he catch up with the goddess he had in mind?" Flanders suddenly asked. This. The slightly fat woman Leng Ling looked at Leng Xuanja beside her, not knowing what to say. The tall and thin woman said coldly, "The clan leader failed, but since then he has focused his energy on cultivation. Now he is already a soul saint of level 71. Leng Xuanja suddenly turned around and said, "Who else has my father pursued? Miss, you should go back and ask your father about this matter." Leng Ling said that it was not easy for her to open her mouth about such things. Zucheng and this city, which is almost the opposite of the Xiandao Empire, are 2 cities in the south and north of the Xiandao Empire. Flanders asked in confusion, "Why did you come to Soto City when you are not in Zucheng?" Senior, a good friend of the clan leader, is a teacher at the Wuhan Hall Academy. He wants to invite our young lady to practice at the Wuhan Hall Academy when she turns 12. We are going to Wuhan City to enroll this time, but we are just passing by Soto City. Leng Xuan answered truthfully. Ma Hongjun suddenly found that Flanders had a smile on his lips. He knew that the dean was going to start his trickery again, and he must be trying to poach people from the Wuhan Hall Academy. Leng Xuanja's talent definitely reached the standard for admission to Shrek. Flanders said with some disdain, "Go to the Spirit Hall? What's the good of it? Such a good talent is wasted. It's better to come to our Shrek Academy." I guarantee that Leng Xuanja will become a talent. The author's personal opinion, there are too many places that are not described in the Douluo continent novel. There are more than a few geniuses in the Spirit Hall Academy. If she hadn't entered Shrek, Leng Xuanja might have been the leader of the next class of the Spirit Hall Academy. This is my personal setting and understanding. If you don't like it, please don't criticize. In addition, since the protagonist has changed, under his influence, there must be some differences from the original. If it is exactly the same, you might as well read the original, which is 100 times better than what I wrote. Finally, if you still like this novel, please vote for it. Thank you very much. Chapter 14. Who has the best technology for cheating? Faced with Flanders talking about the Spirit Hall Academy, the three of them were stunned for a moment. Ma Hongjun was also thinking. Leng Xuanja in front of him went to the Spirit Hall Academy. Ma Hongjun suddenly felt that everything made sense. Soto City is indeed a road to the Spirit Hall, and it is not wrong to pass by here for a visit. As for Leng Xuanja not appearing in the original novel, it may be because she did not participate in the Advanced Soul Master competition in the early stage. The Advanced Soul Master competition is the only opportunity in the novel that gives low-level Soul Masters a lot of opportunities to show up. After that, these Soul Masters, except for the Shrek 7 Devils, became supporting roles. Even Feng Zai Ocean was just a larger supporting role in the end. Looking at the appearance configuration of the Spirit Hall, almost all of them are Soul Masters who are close to level 50. Now Leng Xuanja will definitely not have the same situation as Shrek Xiang here to eat immortal herbs when she goes to the Spirit Hall. From the perspective of soul power, in this Advanced Soul Master competition, Leng Xuanja is at most a Soul Master and can only show up in the next Advanced Soul Master competition. Unfortunately, 5 years after that competition, the Spirit Hall had already taken action against various forces on the continent, preparing to unify the continent, and the high-level Spirit Master competition ended that year. After a long while, the tall and thin woman spoke coldly. "Senior, the Spirit Hall Academy is not that bad. After all, they have always been the champion of the high-level Spirit Master competition." Haha, what's the point of being a champion? That's because my academy didn't participate. If our academy participated, there would definitely be no spirit. Flanders said. Only Ma Hongjun knew that they would definitely win the championship in the next session. But Oscar was different, thinking, you can't even get enough people to participate. But Leng Xuanja looked at Ma Hongjun. She was particularly interested, but he looked at Oscar who just claimed to have full spirit power, and said, "Just now you said that you are born with full spirit power, is that true?" Flanders looked at Oscar meaningfully, as if to say, "It's your turn to perform." Oscar saw that he finally had a chance to show up, so he stepped forward and said, "Formally introduce, Oscar, currently 14 years old, the owner of innate full soul power, martial soul sausage, 29 level food type great soul master, not far from 30 level." After saying that, Oscar directly released his martial soul, not forgetting to show off. Super recovery sausage. In the blink of an eye, a big sausage was created in front of everyone. "Beauty, you just consumed a lot of soul power and physical strength. Do you want to replenish it?" Oscar said. Leng Xuanja immediately felt a little nauseous and refused. "Forget it." After Oscar finished his performance, Flanders spoke again. "Yes, he is the owner of innate full soul power. Our academy not only has them, but also has a genius who is already a 37th level soul master at the age of 15. Flanders saw that the two women and Leng Xuanja in front of him had shown some surprise, and then immediately began to replenish. "Since the establishment of the academy, we have only accepted geniuses and monsters. Before the age of 13, soul masters whose soul power has not reached level 21 are not eligible for admission. Even if you have reached it, you may not be able to pass the assessment and officially become a student. You have to think about it. When you come to our Shrek, you will practice with a group of geniuses who are at the same level as you, or even much stronger than you. Then what's wrong with him? He is only level 20. Why is his soul ring 1,000 years old?" Leng Xuanja pointed at Ma Hongjun and asked curiously. The two women also looked at Flanders at the same time. 1,000-year soul ring was too shocking. "Ma Hongjun, you should tell it yourself," Flanders said. Flanders gave him another chance to perform. He felt that, Since he wanted the other party to enroll, there was no need to hide it. He said casually, actually, 3 months ago, I was also a level 26 Great Spirit Master. Some time ago, the Dean finally solved the problem of my mutated martial spirit and made it evolve again, but it also caused me to lose my spirit power to level 10 and my spirit ring disappeared. Only then did I regain my spirit ring. Anyway, he attributed all the credit to Flanders. The more he said so, the more he could prove Flanders' strength. It's still possible. Then you can practice from level 10 to level 20 in 3 months. It's really amazing. But I'm a little curious. What was the problem with your martial spirit before? Leng Xuanzhi suddenly asked. Ma Hongjun really couldn't answer this question. Fortunately, Flanders spoke at this time. How is it? Have you thought it through? I have no problem. I want to go to Shrek. Leng Xuanzhi decided. In his heart, Shrek must be very good and powerful. Such an academy must have many elite talents. And she lost to the red-clothed boy in front of her today and vowed to get back and defeat Ma Hongjun. Miss, the clan leader wants you to go to the Spirit Hall Academy and they have agreed to train you with all their strength. At the same time, they will find you a Soul Douluo level teacher. If a title Douluo takes a liking to you, you may become a title Douluo's disciple. The slightly plump woman Leng Ling said immediately. Their mission is to send Leng Xuanzhi to the Spirit Hall, but now they have to go to Shrek, which has no reputation on the mainland. Even though Flanders is a soul saint of level 78, it is still far behind the resources of the Spirit Hall. I don't care. I won't go to the Spirit Hall Academy. I will go to Shrek. Leng Xuanzhi said firmly. Ma Hongjun decided that the girl in front of him really had good vision and couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Miss, but how do you explain to the clan leader? Leng Ling continued. I don't care. You just go back and tell the truth. This is my own decision. Leng Xuanzhi said. Flanders saw that the matter was about to be settled and immediately said, Leng Zan, that kid owed me a favor back then. I'll write a letter and you take it to him. I don't think he'll dare to say anything. Can you give us 2 days to think about it? Leng Xuan said, thinking that delaying for 2 days would not prevent us from going to Shrek on time. We must persuade the young lady well in these 2 days. 2 days? Too long. Flanders said, if we really go to inquire about Shrek, then it will be over. Flanders looked at Ma Hongjun again, as if he wanted Ma Hongjun to talk more. After all, he just saw Leng Xuanzhi looking at Ma Hongjun with a different look. Understanding Flanders' expression, Ma Hongjun immediately said, I think it's better to do this. You haven't seen our academy and the students of the academy, and I can't make you believe it. Flanders heard it, and his whole face sank, as if to say, how can you say this now? You will take us there now? Leng Xuanzhi said. Ma Hongjun nodded and said, not today, let's wait 7 days. Come to Shrek at 9 in the morning 7 days later. That way you can see the most complete Shrek Academy. 7 days? Yes, 7 days later is the most complete time for our academy. No, after 7 days, the young lady will have missed the enrollment time of the Spirit Hall. You have already discussed with the teachers of the Spirit Hall that it should be okay, even if you go 2 days later. If the geniuses of our academy are not what the dean said, I will kill them, or cut them up at your will. Ma Hongjun said confidently. Flanders wanted to scold Ma Hongjun in his heart. Where can we find so many geniuses in 7 days? Shrek has not received suitable students for a long time. Okay, 7 days, let's go back to Soto City to find a place to stay. Leng Xuanzhi decided directly and left without looking back. The two women hurriedly followed. What should we do? Leng Ling asked Leng Xuan. What else can we do? Each of these people is more deceiving than the other. You know Mrs. Personality. Let's persuade them. If it doesn't work, we can just give them 7 days. At that time, they will say that there was an accident and it delayed them. After the others disappeared from sight, Flanders slapped Ma Hongjun. What did you say, kid? What are you going to see in 7 days? Flanders was so angry that he blew his beard and glared. In these years, he had never failed to deceive people. Today's plan was almost ruined by Ma Hongjun. If there were more geniuses in the academy, it would be fine. This would also be an advantage. If not, when they come, they will find that Shrek is not only in a remote place, but also in poor conditions. There is not even a simulated environment. Compared with the conditions of the Spirit Hall Academy, it's better to run as fast as possible. Now they have no advantage at all. Ma Hongjun dodged Flanders' slap quickly and said with a smile, "Don't worry, the academy will start recruiting students in 6 days. There will definitely be some good talents joining in 6 days." After saying that, Ma Hongjun ran away. He knew that Flanders would definitely not believe him, and he didn't want to be slapped in the face. "You kid, if there are no decent talents in 6 days, I will have to beat you up," Flanders said with a cruel look on his face. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, Food Chain in the Soul Beast World. Back at the academy, Ma Hongjun was scolded by Flanders again, still for the words that several geniuses could be enrolled at once. If Shrek had several students enrolled every year, there would not be only 3 of them left in the academy. Among the 3 of them, Ma Hongjun and Oscar were brought in by Flanders when they were very young. Otherwise, there would only be Dame Ube left in Shrek now, and the academy might have disbanded long ago, so how could it wait until now? But to be honest, very early the next day, Flanders took Ma Hongjun to the Xingdao Great Forest again after 3 months. Because the morning of the 6th day was the day for Shrek Academy to recruit students, although it was not certain that they would be able to recruit people, it was also a major event of Shrek every year. So Zhao Wuji did not come with Ma Hongjun this time. In fact, in the novels that Ma Hongjun knew, Flanders seemed to have lost much confidence in whether Shrek could accept students. Otherwise he would not have stayed in his small shop in Soto City all day that day, but this time it seemed a little different. First, Ma Hongjun vowed that several powerful geniuses would join, and then Leng Xuanjia appeared. Flanders actually believed it a little. The speed of the 2 people heading to the Xingdao Great Forest was much faster than last time. It was only a short time after noon that the 2 people had already arrived at the outskirts of the Xingdao Great Forest. Fortunately, I didn't practice in vain during this period, otherwise it would be useless when I came here. Ma Hongjun took a deep breath and said, "Running at high speed for several hours in a row was really tiring." Flanders was a little tired at the moment, but seeing that Ma Hongjun was in good spirits, how could he lose? He quickly cheered up and said, "Not bad. You have been practicing crazily during this period and the effect is very significant. Have you decided this time? What type of spirit ring do you want? If it is the same as the second spirit ring last time, it should not be difficult to find one that is more than 2000 years old." Ma Hongjun thought for a while and said, "Dean, let's first set the target as the same as the second spirit ring of the previous one. If we meet other suitable spirit beasts, we can adjust it. But this time I want to find a spirit beast that is at least 3000 years old, and we can also try the spirit ring of a spirit beast that is about 4000 years old. More than 3000 years old? About 4000 years old?" Flanders was surprised. Although they already knew that Ma Hongjun's first spirit ring was 1500 years old, they still felt a little uncomfortable when they heard that the second spirit ring was 3000 years old. Many spirit rings of spirit sects are no more than that of spirit rings over 3000 years old. It is really too shocking for the second spirit ring to reach this level. They originally thought that finding a spirit ring of 2000 to 3000 years old for Ma Hongjun this time would be enough, but who knew that this kid would be so bold? "Boy, are you sure you want to find such a high age? This is not a joke. If you are not careful, it will cost you your life," Flanders said with concern. Ma Hongjun patted his chest and said, "Dean, I have decided. Now my body can definitely withstand it, so don't worry. You kid can't be too much. Do what you can. It's okay if the soul ring age is a little lower," Flanders said. Looking at the direct disciple who was almost raised by himself, Flanders was still very concerned. "Thank you, Dean, I understand," Ma Hongjun said. "It's a bit early to say this now. It's not easy to find a suitable soul beast in such a large forest. It's even more difficult to find a suitable soul beast with a suitable age. Now it's just talk. Let's decide when we meet. This time you come to explore the way. If you meet a soul beast under 1,000 years old, you will solve it all. Flanders said. Okay. Entering the Xingdao Great Forest, Ma Hongjun activated his martial soul. This is a primitive forest. It depends entirely on human beings to open the way and remove obstacles. There will even be attacks from some soul beasts. Relying on memory, the two went straight to the location of the fire-breathing sun lizard. In fact, the route was the same as the first time. The fire scale beast lived in the volcano before, and the fire-breathing lizard was behind the mountain. In the evening, Ma Hongjun and Flanders were just about to bypass the territory of the fire scale beast in front of the volcano. There was a loud bang, and the fire erupted on the other side of the mountain, illuminating the sky for half a day. The volcano erupted. Ma Hongjun said. It shouldn't be. Is there anyone else who has the same goal as us? Flanders said. The next moment, there was a huge bird cry and roar. No, these are two soul beasts fighting. Let's go over quickly. If you are lucky, your soul ring can be solved tonight. Flanders smiled. This kind of volcano is only 100 meters high, not big. The two of them bypassed the territory of the fire scale beast and arrived at the location of the fire-breathing lizard in the back mountain in a few minutes. The fire-breathing lizard is more than 3,100 years old and the golden flame eagle is exactly 4,000 years old. Ma Hongjun spoke first. Flanders was slightly surprised and then looked at Ma Hongjun with relief. He didn't expect that Ma Hongjun could tell the names and ages of the two soul beasts at a glance. It seems that he has not only practiced in the past few months, but also learned a lot of knowledge. Do you know these two soul beasts? Flanders raised his eyes and said. Of course I know. The golden flame eagle is huge. A 4,000-year-old golden flame eagle can grow to 8 meters long. Its golden flame eagle claws are particularly sharp and powerful, which is its strongest attack point. Its usual food is some fire-attributed soul beasts. This fire-breathing flame lizard, that is just over 3 meters long, is one of its favorite soul beasts to hunt. Ma Hongjun replied. This is clearly recorded in the books he has read. The soul beast world is the same as the human world. It is also the law of the jungle, and there is a series of food chains. Flanders nodded and said, yes, the golden flame eagle is looking for food, but his appetite is a bit big. He wants to eat a 3,000-year-old soul beast, and now he is besieged. Have you thought about it? Or 3,000-year-old fire-breathing flame lizard or a 4,000-year-old golden flame eagle? Flanders asked again. Apart from these two soul beasts, the other dozen or so fire-breathing lizards that appeared were not even over 2,000 years old, so there was no need to consider them at all. Of course, I'll have to go for the soul beast at the top of the food chain, the 4,000-year-old golden flame eagle. Ma Hongjun decided. The last time he absorbed his first soul ring, he underestimated the changes that the Zirang Divine Spear would bring to his body, and this time after 3 months of rigorous training, he believed that there would be absolutely no problem with the 4,000-year-old soul beast. Are you sure? Flanders asked again. He knew that Ma Hongjun was no longer the same after his martial soul problem was solved, and he himself couldn't explain the situation of Ma Hongjun. Therefore, he decided to let Ma Hongjun think about it himself, and he would just give some reminders. Ma Hongjun nodded seriously and said, Dean, I'm sure. After Flanders asked several times, the answer was the same. Flanders did not dissuade him and said, it's good that you have decided. Let's wait. I will take action after both sides are defeated. You go to the place where you absorbed the spirit ring last time. I will bring this golden flame eagle to you in a while. Thank you, Dean. This is not the place to absorb spirit rings at all. It is impossible to kill so many fire-breathing lizards. You can only go a little further to a relatively safe place. Ma Hongjun left as soon as he said he would leave. At the same time, he felt in his heart that in Douluo continent, it is really difficult to grow up without the shelter of a big tree, such as hunting spirit beasts. But most spirit masters do not have such shelter. So many spirit masters have white first spirit rings, such as Su Yunteo, a famous figure. Sorry, I was delayed today by something, so this chapter is a bit late. The next chapter is expected to be after 10 o'clock in the evening. Continue to shamelessly ask for votes. Chapter 16. It turns out that I'm destined to be the protagonist. Ma Hongjun was about to come to the place where he absorbed the spirit ring last time. This place was his treasure land. Coincidentally, including this time, this would be his fourth time to absorb the spirit ring in the same place. Facing the powerful spirit beast like the golden flame eagle, Ma Hongjun also had some expectations. Among the spirit beasts, the golden flame eagle was at the top of the food chain in the spirit beast world. Although it was only 4,000 years old, it was recorded in the Spirit Beast book that the overall strength of the Golden Flame Eagle should be ranked in the top 150 for the same age of spirit beasts, especially the Golden Flame Eagle claws, which were extremely hard and powerful. Even some 10,000-year spirit beasts were afraid of the 1,000-year level Golden Flame Eagle claws. This is also the best hunting weapon for the Golden Flame Eagle. Standing on a big tree, Ma Hongjun looked at the flickering fire in the distance and murmured, Tang San's 2,000 human-faced demon spider exploded an external soul bone. Do you think my 4,000-year-old golden flame eagle will also explode an external soul bone for me? The probability of ordinary soul bones dropping is 1 in 1,000, while the probability of external soul bones is not even 1 in 10,000. It's too difficult, but it's not without a chance. At least it's much higher than the probability of any lottery in the previous life, and it can't be fake. Forget it, I'd better adjust my state and wait for the soul ring. Sitting on the tree, Ma Hongjun sat cross-legged and began to adjust his state, while also keeping alert to prevent other soul beasts from attacking. After waiting for less than 10 minutes, there was a loud noise, and Flanders had brought the dying golden flame eagle over. When I was looking for the fourth soul ring, I also wanted to find a golden flame eagle, but unfortunately I didn't meet a suitable one. You are really lucky. Don't forget your great Dean in the future. Flanders put down the golden flame eagle and laughed. Dean, how could I forget you? I'm your direct disciple. As the saying goes, a teacher is a father for life. I will definitely respect you in the future, Ma Hongjun said. He was not a heartless person. Without Flanders, would it be a dream to want to absorb spirits in this way? Besides, he had adopted him for so many years. It was not wrong to describe it with this sentence from the previous life. But this sentence was different in Flanders' eyes. He was shocked. He had no children in his life. Except for a direct disciple like Ma Hongjun, there was no one else. Flanders immediately felt that it was worth it. Hearing this, his eyes were a little wet, but he said, you kid, you are more slick than before. Get ready to absorb the spirit ring. Just give me some empty words. I want to see your actual actions in the future. Okay, I will definitely let you see it, Ma Hongjun said with a smile. As soon as the voice fell, Ma Hongjun's hand was already covered with flames, and he slapped the golden flame eagle with one palm. After a loud bang, a purple soul ring was formed on the golden flame eagle in an instant. The appearance of the soul ring meant that the golden flame eagle was dead. He sat cross-legged on the spot and circulated the fiery fire sutra to adjust his condition to the best. The golden flame eagle was a relatively powerful soul beast of 4,000 years old. Ma Hongjun could not be careless or make any mistakes. The energy on the golden flame eagle soul ring was enough to make him explode and die. After about 20 minutes, Ma Hongjun began to guide the soul ring to absorb. As soon as the soul ring entered his body, Ma Hongjun felt a strong energy injected into his body and then quickly spread throughout his body. This energy is too great. Feeling the energy brought by the golden flame eagle constantly impacting his body, if he couldn't bear it, the result would be an explosion and death. Ma Hongjun quickly circulated the fiery fire sutra, and the fiery fire sutra was running, quickly absorbing the energy, and gradually began to transform it into his own soul power into his danshan. At this time, Ma Hongjun felt a little better, and continued to absorb the soul ring. Flanders was relieved to see that Ma Hongjun's condition was a little better. He was really worried at the beginning. Then it seemed to have reached a period of balance. The spirit ring of the golden flame eagle began to slowly transmit energy, and Ma Hongjun was able to proceed steadily. However, the more this happened, the more worried Ma Hongjun became. After an hour, it was still the same. This can only allow me to enter the 21st level, right? The 4,000-year spirit ring just exploded and disappeared at the beginning. This is not what a 4,000-year spirit ring should look like. Just when Ma Hongjun was worried, suddenly, a more powerful energy came, and the spirit ring of the golden flame eagle burst out a large amount of energy. This moment was unprecedented, at least 3 times more than the energy at the beginning. Ma Hongjun's body trembled, and he almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, he adjusted in time and survived. No, why is it still increasing? Sweat continued to flow down Ma Hongjun's forehead, and his whole body was shaking. Flanders was frightened. A Shrek student had experienced this before. He fell to the ground and never got up again. Flanders knew that his anxiety was also useful. He could only cheer for Ma Hongjun silently. At the same time, he also felt a little regretful. Why didn't he stop Ma Hongjun from absorbing the 4,000-year spirit ring? Ma Hongjun had been struggling to support himself. The fiery sutra had been running to its limit, but it still couldn't stop the majestic energy. Is it really over? Ma Hongjun thought to himself. I underestimated myself last time, and overestimated myself this time. No, I must hold on. Since I came to this world, I shouldn't be a supporting role or a bit part. I should be the protagonist. I must hold on. Ma Hongjun encouraged himself. Constantly adjusting, but the 4,000-year spirit ring really exceeded his limit. The spirit ring of the golden flame eagle was still releasing energy into Ma Hongjun's body. Ma Hongjun could only grit his teeth and hold on. Is it really over? It's over, my body? I can't hold on anymore. Ma Hongjun's current situation can only be described as an energy explosion. If there is too much energy, there is a risk of exploding and dying. Just when Ma Hongjun felt that he could not hold on, he suddenly felt a heat in his chest. At the critical point of exploding and dying, the energy that almost made him explode, and I moved quickly to his chest, and then disappeared in an instant. Great. Thank you. Ma Hongjun thanked in his heart. This time it was Zirong's magic gun that saved him, and helped him absorb the excess energy. With the help of the magic gun mark, Ma Hongjun quickly absorbed the energy that was exploding in his body, and then gradually reduced it, and his condition began to improve. At this time, the nervous Flanders loosened his sweaty hands, and he was really worried about Ma Hongjun. After going through the most difficult time, Ma Hongjun also entered a stable period of absorbing soul rings. Gradually, another hour passed. All the energy was absorbed by Ma Hongjun, and his own soul power also increased greatly. The second soul ring was about to be absorbed. Suddenly, after Ma Hongjun finished absorbing the soul ring, he found something special. This turned out to be. It appeared. It came with the soul ring. It turns out that I'm really destined to be the protagonist. Chapter 17 Shrek Enrollment. In the blink of an eye, 5 days passed. It was the day of Shrek's annual enrollment. Although many advertisements had been posted, there were still not many people. The few people who came were basically civilians. If Shrek's tuition was not relatively cheap, they would not come here to register. The teachers of Shrek Academy were also preparing to welcome the arrival of new students. Oscar even set up a small stall to sell his sausages. At this moment, there was only one person in the entire Shrek Academy who was practicing. And this person was Ma Hongjun, who had just obtained the second soul ring. He and Flanders returned to Shrek Academy 4 days ago. This journey to obtain soul rings brought him huge gains. Whenever he thought of the situation that day, Ma Hongjun was still a little excited. When he was surviving from absorbing the soul ring, he actually found that the golden flame eagle had exploded a soul bone at the last moment. It was still the coveted external soul bone, which made Ma Hongjun feel that he also had a bit of the protagonist's aura. There are 2 places on the golden flame eagle that are particularly powerful. The first is the golden flame eagle claw, the golden flame eagle's attack weapon. The second is the eye of the golden flame eagle. In his previous life, Ma Hongjun knew that the eyesight of the eagle's eyes was very high, at least 3 times that of humans. Only with this feature can you lock on to prey on the ground from a high altitude. The eagle's eyes can be said to be positioning, while the eagle's claws can be used to kill. Originally, Ma Hongjun thought that he could obtain the golden flame eagle's claws and have a super attack method. As a result, when he absorbed the external soul bone, he found that the external soul bone he got was the eye of the golden flame eagle, that is, the eye bone. What is this? Do you want me to be an ADC? I'm a violent output in the front row, okay. Although it is an eye bone, it is better than nothing. Ma Hongjun immediately absorbed it and integrated it into his eyes. After he absorbed it, He found that the eye bone brought him great benefits. Not only did his physical fitness in all aspects improve, but even his mental strength also improved a little. The most terrifying thing is vision. Even if the eye bone is not opened, it can reach twice that of ordinary people. When he uses the eye bone of the golden flame eagle, his vision is at least improved by more than 5 times. He can clearly see ants crawling on the tree hundreds of meters away. Ma Hongjun called this pair of eye bones hawky. Because he had just obtained them, Ma Hongjun had not completely integrated them, and had not yet reached the limit of Hawkeye's ability. Moreover, he was not fully familiar with Hawkeye's ability, and needed to continue exploring. In short, Hawkeye was not as simple as just improving vision. Even though today was a special day, Ma Hongjun did not change his training plan, because it was the day Tangsun and others entered school. However, Ma Hongjun felt that he could go and see the battle with Zhao Wuji, and he could also appreciate the 3 beauties of Shrek. Now he was no longer as excited as when he first came to this world. After all, other people's strengths belong to others. Only when he was strong enough could he win the respect of others. He was no longer the original Ma Hongjun, who had the opportunity to become a god with the help of Tangsan. But now it was different. Even without Tangsan, he was confident that he could live like a human or a god. Facing the reality, Ma Hongjun put on a vest with iron beads sewn inside before dawn. It weighed 25 kilograms, with 7.5 kilograms on each hand and 10 kilograms on each foot. At this moment, the total weight on his body has reached 60 kilograms, almost the weight of an adult. Outside Shrek Academy, Tangsan, Zhao Wu, Ningrong Rong, Zhu Zuking and others are the same as in the original book, with almost no changes, and they successfully completed the first level of the Shrek test. The only difference is that there is one more person at the back of the team. This person is Leng Xuanja. Leng Xuanja was supposed to come later on this day, but they saw the enrollment advertisement of Shrek and thought that Ma Hongjun had said the wrong date. Is this the Shrek Academy they are talking about? Leng Xuan said coldly, standing behind him. It is so shabby and horrible. Miss, are you sure you want to sign up? Leng Xuan asked again. I'm sure. Look at the 4 qualified people and the young soul master just now. There is also a teacher in charge of registration who is above level 60. Isn't this proof? Leng Xuan just said. Miss, but, hey, there is no but. I will go to sign up. I will go in and take a look first. You wait for me outside. Leng Xuanja said. After a while, Leng Xuanja also passed the assessment quickly and successfully joined Tangsun and others. Because Damu Bei picked up Zhu Zuking alone, Leng Xuanja had to enter alone, who made Shrek have so few people. When Leng Xuanja just entered, she saw Oscar selling sausages over there. The difference is that Oscar had shaved his beard at this time, and with his new clothes, he fully showed his appearance. At the same time, Leng Xuanja also saw a man and 3 women who came in earlier than her. Except for the man with an ordinary appearance, the 3 girls were very beautiful. Oscar, why don't you see Ma Hongjun? Leng Xuanja asked, as soon as she came up. Damu Bei and Oscar immediately looked at Leng Xuanja. Why are you here today? Didn't Ma Hongjun ask you to come tomorrow? Ma Hongjun should still be practicing in the village now. Oscar said. Oscar was fine. This was the second time he saw Leng Xuanja. Damu Bei really stared at Leng Xuanja and almost drooled. Leng Xuanja's beauty seemed to have surpassed Zhu Zuking, who was not far from him. But in an instant, Damu Bei seemed to feel a different aura and immediately retracted his gaze. Everyone follow me. Damu Bei said hurriedly. But Leng Xuanja did not follow. She looked at Oscar and said, Oscar, take me to see Ma Hongjun. Didn't your dean say that I can enter the academy directly? I don't need to take the test later, right? Of course you have no problem. Come with me. Oscar laughed, feeling extremely unbalanced. Why didn't anyone come to see me? I have shaved my beard. But the other 3 who came today are all good. One of them must be mine. Oscar thought silently. He immediately said to Damu Bei, Boss Day, I will take her to see Ma Hongjun. This person was recruited by the dean himself, so he should not need the test later. The person recruited by the dean himself? Going to see Ma Hongjun? Did this kid really enter spring directly after losing weight? Damu Bei glanced at Leng Xuanja again and said, then you go, leave it to me here. Chapter 18 Familiar Tests. Following Oscar all the way, Leng Xuanzhi felt that the conditions of this academy were really bad. It was estimated that there was not even a simulated training environment. There were so many geniuses willing to enter this academy, which made Leng Xuanzhi curious. What magic and special features does this academy have? Why did you come today? Oscar asked again. Of course I saw your recruitment advertisement. Why did you ask me to come tomorrow? Leng Xuanzhi asked back. Oscar didn't know how to answer, so he could only say, you should ask Ma Hongjun about this. The village was not big, and soon came to one of the places where Ma Hongjun practiced, the small river behind the village. Leng Xuanzhi saw from a distance that a man was wearing a single layer of clothes inside, but a thick vest outside, which was extremely ugly. Is this Ma Hongjun? Is he practicing like this? Leng Xuanzhi almost thought she had recognized the wrong person. Ma Hongjun was half squatting and jumping forward step by step. At the moment he jumped up, his body was extremely stretched. If it weren't for the fiery red mohawk hairstyle, Leng Xuanzhi might not have recognized that this was Ma Hongjun. Then you go find him. I'll go back first, Oscar said. It was obvious that the beauty in front of him was not looking for him. In fact, with Ma Hongjun's current vision, he saw Leng Xuanzhi very early. However, he did not stop practicing to greet her, but continued to complete the established practice goals. Just after finishing, he stood up and looked at Leng Xuanzhi, who was already in front of him. For beautiful women, especially those who are more arrogant, the more you can't get too close. In a word, you must advance and retreat in moderation. Don't flatter them too much. The more you flatter them, the worse it is, and perhaps others will care less about you. Why are you here today? Isn't it tomorrow? Ma Hongjun said. Leng Xuanzhi sneered. Why do you ask that? Is there a difference between today and tomorrow? Besides, today is the enrollment day. Of course there is a difference. You are the dean's internal special recruitment. You don't need to go through today's process at all. Just come tomorrow. Ma Hongjun smiled. Looking at the time, Tangsun and the others should have come too. Ma Hongjun also wanted to see that battle. As he spoke, Ma Hongjun took off the iron sandbags tied to his feet and hands one by one. What is this? Is it the thing you picked up that day? Can you show it to me? Leng Xuanzhi asked curiously. Ma Hongjun had just taken off the iron bead vest he was wearing. It was already wet with his sweat and had a special smell. Let me show you. Use some strength, otherwise you won't be able to hold it steady, Ma Hongjun said. Leng Xuanzhi smelled the smell and her face looked a little ugly, but she returned to normal the next moment and prepared to catch it with both hands. Whoosh! With a bang, Ma Hongjun's weighted vest fell to the ground. He saw Ma Hongjun handing it to her casually and said it was very heavy, so he thought he was lying to her, but when he took it, he suddenly felt the weight. She was not prepared and could only let it fall to the ground. You, so heavy? Leng Xuanzhi was surprised. Not much, just 25 kilograms. Ma Hongjun said. What? 25 kilograms? What about all of them? Leng Xuanzhi continued to ask. Just 60 kilograms. Ma Hongjun picked up the vest and put it into the soul guide. That's right, this is the soul guide. Ma Hongjun finally has his own space soul guide. On the way back from getting the second soul ring, Flanders finally gave him a space soul guide. After all, he was a direct disciple. Or maybe it was because Ma Hongjun said that a teacher is a father for life, which moved Flanders to give him one. Originally, Ma Hongjun was very moved, but Flanders said that he should return it to him when he made money in the future, and 1 cubic space would cost 10,000 gold soul coins. Although the one he gave to Ma Hongjun was not very big, it was 10 cubic meters, which was 100,000 gold soul coins. Alas, the nature of the profiteer was exposed. Anyway, Ma Hongjun would definitely not return it, but just said that he would talk about it later. In this way, he had a soul guide. No wonder your soul power is not high, but you can have such strong strength and a 1000-year soul ring. That's it. Leng Xuanzhi also came out of shock. It was the first time she saw someone with better talent than her and who could work 100 times harder than her. Let's go back to the academy. There should be a good show starting now. It would be a pity to miss it, Ma Hongjun said and walked quickly towards the academy. Wait for me, what good show? Leng Xuanzhi also became interested. It seemed that she heard that it was something that Ma Hongjun was interested in, and she also wanted to know and see it very much. Ma Hongjun heard Zhao Wuji's voice from a distance. My name is Zhao Wuji. Since the four of you have passed the second and third levels without taking the test, I will come to play with you. I will give you one stick of incense to get to know each other and discuss. After one stick of incense, we will start the test. The content of the test is that the four of you will join forces to resist my attack for one stick of incense. As long as one of you persists to the end, you will pass the test. Ma Hongjun looked at Leng Xuanzhi behind him and immediately shouted, Teacher Zhao, wait a minute. I have another student here. Let's go together. Zhao Wuji saw that it was Ma Hongjun and smiled. There is one more. Not bad. It's okay to add one more. Come on. Me. Leng Xuanzhi pointed at herself and looked at Ma Hongjun, not knowing what she was talking about. Tang-san, Zhao Wu and the others also felt strange when they saw Ma Hongjun, who was wearing only a thin vest, not decent at all but a little handsome. Is he also a student of the academy? Ma Hongjun, why should I join? Leng Xuanzhi said. Ma Hongjun smiled and said, only by having the experience of fighting with everyone can you integrate into the group faster. Don't you want to enroll, based on your strength? Me. Let the five of us fight one. Leng Xuanzhi suddenly felt that it was a bit unfair. Don't worry, the 10 of you may not be able to defeat Teacher Zhao. He is a level 76 strong attack spirit saint. Ma Hongjun smiled proudly, thinking of the piece of hair crystal that he had taken from Flanders' shop in his soul guide, the best of the hair crystals, sheet metal. Although Ma Hongjun didn't understand it and didn't know how to use it, he knew that Tang-san had lost the dragon whisker needle. It would be difficult to survive this battle like in the novel. Besides, this Teacher Zhao was also very good to him. Although he couldn't stop Tang Hao, at least he couldn't watch Teacher Zhao suffer from the dragon whisker needle. Leng Xuanzhi was shocked and said, this test is too difficult, isn't it? Why do we say that our academy only accepts geniuses and freaks? Don't you dare to participate? Ma Hongjun said. Faced with Ma Hongjun's provocation, Leng Xuanzhi was not convinced and said, participate? Why not? I must enter your academy with my own strength. Okay, then you go over. I'll find someone. Ma Hongjun said. Seeing another person joining, Zhao Wuji smiled and said, yes, there are 5 this year. However, I haven't finished what I just said. I'll add that you should not try to take shortcuts. No one can escape from this area with speed. At the same time, I also want to warn you not to think that you can resist my attack by yourself. Mutual cooperation is your only chance. Go and get ready. The first incense stick counts. Ma Hongjun did not stay and came to the 2 women waiting outside the academy. 2 seniors, please come with me. Leng Xuanzhi is about to take the last test. If you are still unwilling to keep her, after seeing this test, the dean and I will not force you to stay. Leng Xuan and Leng Ling were a little unconvinced and said, okay, let's go and see what test can prove you. This is Ma Hongjun's purpose. Let alone other things, seeing that all the geniuses of the 7 treasures glazed tile sector here, what else can you say? Ma Hongjun also wanted to better retain Leng Xuanzhi, which was what he promised Flanders. Chapter 19 Testing Changes, 3 vs. 5. When I brought Leng Xuan and Leng Ling to the battle site, Zhao Wuji had already closed his eyes and slept on his chair. At this time, Daimyo Bei was introducing all kinds of information about Zhao Wuji to Tang-san, Leng Xuanzhi and the other 4. Suddenly, Ning Rong exclaimed, he is actually Akala Zhao Wuji. Akala? Leng Xuan was surprised. Ma Hongjun smiled and said, you also know Akala? I know a little bit. It is said that Akala Zhao Wuji had a conflict with the spirit hall and wanted to punish him, but he rushed out from the siege of 16 bishops who were at least Soul Emperors. At that time, he was also a Soul Emperor. Now more than 10 years have passed. Could it be that he is in your Shrek Academy? Leng Xuan looked at Zhao Wuji who was sleeping on a recliner in the distance. This was the same image as described back then. Although they were far away in Snow City in the extreme north of Xiandao, it was not a place where news was blocked. They also knew about the major events that happened on the mainland, and Zhao Wuji's battle was one of the rare major events during that period. Zhao Wuji was the capital of the academy, and Ma Hongjun brought them to see it. Moreover, Zhao Wuji is not afraid of the spirit hall coming to find him now. In the subsequent plots he notes, the spirit hall has not come to find Zhao Wuji again. This matter should have been settled, so there is no fear of exposing Zhao Wuji in Shrek. Looking at the amazed expressions of the Lengso and Ling women, Ma Hongjun smiled and said, Teacher Zhao Wuji is the vice president of our academy, with a soul power of level 76. What are the young ladies doing? Ling Ling asked. You mean them? Did you see that stick of incense? When it burns out, the 5 of them will challenge Teacher Zhao Wuji together. Only if they can persist under Teacher Zhao Wuji for an incense stick of time can they enter our Shrek Academy. Ma Hongjun said. What? To challenge Akela, or a soul saint of level 76. Zhao Wuji, who cannot be defeated by more than a dozen soul emperors, is going to fight him. Leng Xin and Leng Ling took a breath of cold air. This is something that cannot be accomplished at all. This is our Shrek Academy. We never accept trash, but only geniuses. Ma Hongjun said again. They just watched quietly, and the 5 people began to introduce themselves. Tang-san, Weapon Spirit Blue Silvergrass, Level 29 Control System Combat Spirit Master. Zhao Wu, Beast Spirit Rabbit, Level 29 Strong Attack System Combat Spirit Master. Rong, Weapon Spirit 7 Treasures Glazed Pagoda, Level 26 Auxiliary Weapon Spirit Master. ZHU Zuking, Beast Spirit Netherworld Spirit Cat, Level 27 Agility Attack System Combat Spirit Master. Leng Xuanja felt a little shocked. She originally thought that her talent could be ranked among the top in the continent, and few people could compare with her unless they were born with full spirit power. But these geniuses who were about the same age as him, their spirit power was not inferior to her, and one of them had the world's #1 auxiliary spirit 7 Treasures Glazed Pagoda. It seemed that a genius like her was nothing here. Your spirit is actually the 7 Treasures Glazed Pagoda. Are you from the 7 Treasures Glazed sect? Leng Xuanja asked again. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Ningrangrang. Ningrangrang stuck out her cute little tongue and said, Don't look at me. I'm just like an ordinary person. I ran away from home. Let's talk about it. After we pass the test, I have 2 spirit rings that can increase my speed and strength. The increase is about 30%. There is no problem in lasting for an incense stick. Everyone was amazed. With Ningrangrang's presence, everyone seemed to have a little more confidence. Finally, it was Leng Xuanja's turn. She put away her pride and said calmly, Leng Xuanja, Beast Spirit Frost Dragon, 27th level Strong Attack Spirit Master. Tangsun was surprised and said, It's actually Frost Dragon Spirit, the best among the top spirits. Shame, this is nothing. Leng Xuanja replied. Then let's start the arrangement. Let's do this, and then this. Tangsun took the initiative to assign tasks and make a battle plan. Are you done? Zhao Wuji's voice rang out again, as if the whole Shrek Academy could hear it. The 5 people looked back and saw that the incense on the ground had burned to the end. Damu Bei immediately said to Zhao Wuji, Teacher, we can start now. Although this was an unequal battle, as both of them were spirit masters of the strong attack system, Damu Bei and Ma Hongjun would naturally not miss such an opportunity to learn. Zhao Wuji stood up again, clasped his hands together, and moved his wrists. A series of bone-cracking sounds rang out, which added a bit of pressure to the few people. But just as he was about to start, Ma Hongjun actually saw Flanders coming, which was not in the original book. Zhao Wuji saw Flanders at the first time and said, Dean Flanders is here. I was preparing to test these new students. I didn't expect you to be interested. Why don't you try it? Ma Hongjun looked at Tang-san. He had no communication with Zhao Wu, and didn't seem to know Flanders. No wonder, without the crystal as a medium, there would be no profiteer plot. Maybe they went into the store and saw that there was nothing good and left, or maybe Flanders didn't go to his store that morning. The plot gradually became more and more different under his influence. Zhao Wuji, it's not good for you to take action. Isn't this what Damu Bei should do? Flanders asked. Damu Bei groaned in his heart. Do you want me to take action? He just heard the abilities of the 5 newcomers. If they join forces, he will definitely be beaten. As the boss of the academy, it would be too embarrassing if he lost so badly. Flanders waved his eye sockets with his index finger, looked at Dame Yubei, Ma Hongjun, and Oscar in the distance, and said, Zao Wuji, forget it. Let the three of them come. 3 old members against 5 new monsters. This is not bad. What? The 3 of us against the 5 of them? Ma Hongjun felt that nothing good was going to happen when he saw Flanders coming. He actually asked him, Dame Yubei and Oscar, to fight against the 5 of them. Ma Hongjun regretted it a little. Wouldn't it be better for me to practice honestly by the river? It would be embarrassing to lose. 3 old students can't beat 5 freshmen. It would be right if we won, but will Tang Heo come to teach people a lesson in the evening? However, as a peer, Ma Hongjun also felt that Tang Heo would not take action. Somehow, I helped teacher Zao avoid a beating. Ma Hongjun felt unhappy when he thought of Tang San's hidden weapons. There were poisons and various needle-type hidden weapons. So far, it is really difficult to deal with such a Tang San. Oh. If I could get the golden flame eagle claw as an external soul bone, I could take Tang San's hidden weapons. Unfortunately, it is an eye bone. Hey, eye bone, my vision is more than twice that of an ordinary person. Hidden weapons? Ma Hongjun seemed to have thought of a way. He strode towards Dame Yubei and said with a smile, no problem, let the 3 of us old people teach the 5 newcomers. Sorry, it's a bit late. There will definitely be a chapter in the next chapter, which will probably be around 12 o'clock. Chapter 20 The battle begins. Oscar, stop right there. Flanders suddenly shouted. Except for Ma Hongjun and Dame Yubei, this kid was trying to sneak away in the distance. Hearing Flanders shout, Oscar stopped and said, I don't need it, right? You are also a member of the academy, you must participate. Flanders said seriously. He has always been more indulgent to Oscar, but today the academy suddenly has so many geniuses. He can't let Oscar go on like this, otherwise it will waste his talent and also put some pressure on him. Perhaps because there are so many new geniuses in the academy, Flanders looks much better, as if he was suddenly excited. Dean, it's a bit unfair. I just listened to all their tactics. Give them some time to adjust, Dame Yubei said. Then give them another half an incense stick of time, and you all prepare again. Flanders said. The square was divided into 2 groups again. One was Ma Hongjun's side, and the other was Tang San's side. Although Dame Yubei was a level 37 soul master, he just knew the full abilities of the 5 people on the opposite side, and he seemed very serious. Oscar, Ma Hongjun, let me tell you about their characteristics. Dame Yubei said seriously. Ma Hongjun smiled and said, Boss Day, there is no need for that. I have heard it just now. Oscar, at the beginning, you should prepare one of each type of sausage for us. Ma Hongjun said again. You sit at the beginning? Oscar said. Yes, they have many people, and there are 2 strong attacks, 1 control and 1 sensitive attack. Once we are entangled by these 4 people, we will definitely not be able to take care of you, and we will not be able to play your role. So you sit at the beginning, and then you try to get rid of the cute girl with shoulder length hair from behind. Ma Hongjun analyzed. Dame Yubei also nodded. Ma Hongjun is right, but I don't want your sausage, just prepare it for Ma Hongjun. As expected, just as Ma Hongjun thought, Dame Yubei would definitely not eat it now. Oscar was stunned. He was actually asked to fight. Suddenly Ma Hongjun leaned close to Oscar's ear and said a few words, and Oscar blushed immediately. Ma Hongjun, are you telling the truth? Oscar asked. Ma Hongjun smiled and said, of course, whether you can win depends on you, but first you have to give me a recovery sausage. I consumed a lot this morning, so I must replenish it before the battle. Okay. Half an incense stick of time passed quickly, and both sides were ready, standing less than 20 meters apart. Dame Yubei stood at the front, Ma Hongjun was slightly behind, and Oscar was at the end. On the other side, Tang San was at the front, ZHU Zuking and Zhao Wu were on both sides, and Leng Xuan just stood a little behind the 3 of them, about the same position as Ning Rong. Let's start. Flanders shouted loudly. At this moment, the 7 treasures turn out to have colored glaze. One is power, the other is speed. I have a big sausage, I have a small sausage. Oscar and Ning Rong use their soul skills at the same time. Ning Rong's soul skills were released instantly, and the other 4 people immediately felt the bonus in strength and speed. Everyone's strength and speed received a 30% bonus. At such a long distance, Ma Hongjun knew that he could not interrupt Rong's spirit skill. Even if he tried his best to stop it, it might not work. After all, there were 3 people blocking his way in front. Since he couldn't do it, he could only fight hard. The next moment, Tang Sun threw out a blue-black vine and attacked Dame Bei. At the same time, Xiao Wu and Zhu Yuking surrounded him from both sides. It was a very simple tactic. After all, their opponents at the moment were Ma Hongjun and the other 2, so the pressure was much less, and at the same time, their confidence was more sufficient. Let me do it. Dame Bei activated his second spirit skill, White Tiger Fierce Light Wave. As the boss and a power type strong attack spirit master, Dame Bei naturally had to go up. White Tiger Fierce Light Wave faced Tang Sun directly, and the originally stretched out spirit was immediately defeated. Tang Sun released his first spirit skill again, and blocked in front of him. At this moment, Xiao Wu and Zhu Yuking also came to Dame Bei's sides, and their first spirit rings lit up. One was a waist bow, and the other was an ethereal stab. The suddenly stretched out claws quickly attacked Dame Bei. It can be seen that Zhu Yuking seemed to be using extra strength to face Dame Bei. One on each side. Ma Hongjun took Oscars to sausages and immediately came to Dame Bei's side. The 2 rushed out quickly, and Dame Bei immediately used his first soul skill, White Tiger Body Barrier, to prepare to take Zhu Yuking's first soul skill. At this moment, Ma Hongjun still did not reveal his soul ring, and he did not have a martial soul. What about the waist bow? Ma Hongjun's current physical fitness and strength are simply not comparable to Xiao Wu's. Even if the waist bow can make Xiao Wu's waist strength 100%, so what? You don't even release your martial soul? Xiao Wu was a little surprised. Xiao Wu flew into the air and used the waist bow skill to hit Ma Hongjun from the air. Ma Hongjun spread his legs forward and backward and kicked the ground, and his fist went straight to Xiao Wu's feet. Bump. How could it be? In an instant, Xiao Wu was actually knocked out by Ma Hongjun's punch, and Tang Sun also reacted in time and immediately used the long vine of the blue silver grass to catch Xiao Wu. At this moment, Leng Xuanja hadn't made a move yet. She just looked at Ma Hongjun in surprise, with mixed feelings in her heart. In just 6 days, he had become stronger again. Xiao Wu, let's deal with him together. With this punch, Tang Sun had already seen through the trick, and knew that Ma Hongjun was no ordinary person. Tang Sun was going to attack me. Ma Hongjun was also looking forward to this moment. It was time to prove who was the protagonist, and who was a supporting role. On the other side, even if Zhu Yuking, who was level 27, had a 30% increase, she could not be the opponent of Dame Bei, who was level 37. Leng Xuanja saw that Tang Sun and Xiao Wu were ready to fight Ma Hongjun. After all, they were a team, so she immediately gave up looking for trouble with Ma Hongjun, and went to help Dame Bei. At the edge of the battle, Oscar was also quietly approaching Rong. At this time, Xiao Wu was already standing with Tang San. Brother, this person is very powerful, you have to be careful. I know, I will be careful, I will try him first. Tang San said confidently. The next moment, Tang San moved towards Ma Hongjun like a shadow. Ghostly phantom? Ma Hongjun smiled slightly. I, Li Ho Wuhan, am not a pushover. He was just like Tang San, moving at the speed of a phantom. With a thud, the 2 fought in the center of the field. Tang San quickly retreated 6 or 7 steps, while Ma Hongjun stood there motionless. Ma Hongjun knew that Tang San's strength should not be that great at this time. He was definitely not his opponent in terms of strength, even if the increase was 30%. After all, his physical qualities in all aspects were extraordinary, and he had absorbed a 4,000-year spirit ring, which improved him a lot. In addition, he had absorbed an external spirit bone, which improved him a little bit. At this time, Tang San still had a huge gap with Ma Hongjun in this aspect. Tang San shook his numb arm, feeling a little unconvinced. The red-haired boy in front of him actually had a body movement skill. Tang San immediately glanced at Xiao Wu and rushed towards Ma Hongjun again. Ma Hongjun also immediately discovered that during Tang San's action, his hands had become like jade. Mysterious jade hands. Then I'll let you try my fiery palm. I finally caught up. Thanks to everyone who voted, and a special thanks to the first book friend who gave a tip to this book. Keep asking for votes. Chapter 21 Introduce Yourself. When Tang San made his move, Xiao Wu came towards Ma Hongjun again. The two were ready to attack Ma Hongjun at the same time. After all, he was an old student of the academy, and Tang San had to take Ma Hongjun, who was only wearing a thin single garment, seriously. Two people. Ma Hongjun was naturally not afraid. He was just preparing to use the fiery no trace skill, but found that his legs were controlled. Tang San's second soul skill, parasitism. It was like a vine growing from his legs, gradually extending upward from his legs. However, Tang San had not been to the yin-yang eye of ice and fire, and could not be immune to ice and fire. The current fire was definitely a nemesis for the blue-silver grass. Ma Hongjun wanted to break free, but after all, it was Tang San's second soul skill, and it was still a little difficult. He still underestimated Tang San. In such a moment of good things, he actually arranged a tactic. Xiao Wu and Tang San were about to get close to Ma Hongjun. In an instant, Ma Hongjun's martial spirit appeared, with two purple soul rings appearing. Ma Hongjun's martial spirit possession made his whole body full of flames. Although Tang San's blue-silver grasp became extremely tough under the effect of the two spirit rings, as a plant, it was still very afraid of fire. Ma Hongjun's mind moved, and the scorching flames hit Tang San's blue-silver grass vines, and then Ma Hongjun lifted his feet with force, and his feet instantly escaped the restraints. At this time, Tang San and Xiao Wu, who were originally attacking Ma Hongjun, stopped at the same time. What did they see? Someone actually had 2,000-year spirit rings. Tang San immediately fell into deep thought. Was the teacher's theoretical research wrong? Didn't it say that the limit of the first martial spirit is 423 years? But what about the boy in front of him? This was the first time Tang San doubted the master's theory. Brother, it's the Phoenix martial spirit. Seeing the Phoenix and Ma Hongjun spirit ring, Tang San and Xiao Wu were both shocked. Among the beast martial spirits, the Phoenix is one of the most powerful. The Phoenix, also known as the seven-colored bird, not only can the host have the ability to fly, but also gives the powerful attack power of the fire attribute. It is the best among the strong attack-type martial spirits. At this moment, Ma Hongjun was standing in front of them, 2 meters high in the air. Long phoenix feathers had grown on his arms, and his hands had turned into claws. Ma Hongjun. Dainu Bei also looked at Ma Hongjun in surprise. When did he become like this? In Shrek, everyone knew that Ma Hongjun had undergone earth-shaking changes. The most direct thing to see was that he was no longer lazy and became thinner. Only a few people knew about the changes in Ma Hongjun's martial spirit. Behind Ma Hongjun, a 3-meter wide fiery red phoenix wing appeared. You know, when Ma Hongjun's martial spirit had problems, the wings would not appear after the martial spirit was possessed, let alone flying. And not all martial spirits with flying types can fly directly after the martial spirit is possessed. That must be a powerful flying martial spirit, but ordinary flying martial spirits will also obtain a flying soul skill on the third soul ring. But at this moment, the powerful fire phoenix gave Ma Hongjun the ability to fly after the martial spirit was possessed. This is the real phoenix. Although flying is very comfortable, it has to be said that it consumes more soul power. After Ma Hongjun escaped, he immediately put away his martial spirit and prepared to continue fighting. He knew that Tang San's strength was more than that. After landing, Ma Hongjun smiled and said, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Ma Hongjun, my martial spirit is Fiery Phoenix, and I'm a level 25 strong attack system combat spirit master." After absorbing the external spirit bone and the 4,000-year spirit ring, Ma Hongjun's spirit power has been raised to level 25. Although he was one level lower than he was 3 months ago, his combat power at this moment has increased by more than 3 times. Fatty, no, Ma Hongjun, when did you become like this? Dainu Bei also asked. All the battle stopped at this moment, and they all looked at Ma Hongjun. You said that the Phoenix martial spirit was fine, but there was also a 1,000-year spirit ring that subverted people's cognition. It changed accidentally. Ma Hongjun touched his nose and replied. Ma Hongjun, this kid is quite proud. Xiao Wuji smiled beside Flanders. In fact, at this time, Flanders was more proud than Ma Hongjun, because this was his direct disciple. He smiled and said, "This kid is barely not bad. You are still not satisfied. No wonder you want to let the three of them fight against 5 newcomers." Xiao Wuji seemed to have thought of something. "Let each of them get familiar with each other. It's up to us to guide them to grow." Flanders' heart rekindled the fire of hope, and he vowed to lead this batch of Shrek students well. They will definitely become famous in the continent. Xiao Wuji also said seriously, "The talents of these children are better than each other. I will definitely cooperate with you." At this moment, the battle has entered a stagnant state. Flanders hurriedly yelled, "What? Are you all scared? If you are scared, get out of Shrek. We don't accept people who admit their weakness here. Prepare for action." Tangsun ordered. This not only did not undermine his confidence, but aroused his fighting spirit. This was the first opponent that made him so serious since he came to Douluo continent. "Xiao Wu, let's go together," Tangsun said. "Brother, I have no problem." Xiao Wu nodded. The battle situation was still the same as before. The level 37 Dainube needed Zhu Zuking and Leng Xuanja to contain him, while Ning Rangrang could only provide assistance from the back. Ma Hongjun also knew that the two people in front of him had lived together for 6 years, and they were very familiar with each other. They were also very experienced in fighting together, so he had to take it seriously. Tang San's first soul ring lit up again, and this time the sky was full of blue silver vines coming towards him. Tang San knew that his martial soul attribute restrained him, so he still used this move. Ma Hongjun knew that this must be a false move. The next moment, Xiao Wu appeared not far in front of Ma Hongjun. At this time, Xiao Wu's second soul ring lit up and suddenly turned blood red, staring straight at Ma Hongjun. But at this time, even if Ma Hongjun knew that this was Xiao Wu's second soul skill, charm, he couldn't close his eyes and had to guard against Tang San's hidden weapons. Ma Hongjun suddenly felt dizzy, but fortunately his mental strength was strong enough, and his eyes changed color immediately, turning to fiery red. This is one of his 3 major skills, the blazing fire eye, which is specifically used to restrain Xiao Wu's skills. At the same moment, Tang San had already arrived in front of him. Just as Ma Hongjun guessed, Tang San's first spirit skill was indeed a fake move, and a jade hand appeared in front of Ma Hongjun. Ma Hongjun circulated the fiery fire sutra, and the hands instantly turned into a color like fire. Bang! A jade hand and a fiery red hand collided. At the same time, Tang San's body shape gradually changed, and Ma Hongjun suddenly felt that his fiery fire palm seemed to hit a softball, and most of his strength seemed to be removed. This is another move of Tang San, controlling the crane and catching the dragon, which can move 1,000 pounds with a little effort. Keep asking for votes. The next update should be before 12 o'clock. Regarding the flying martial spirit, it is the same as what I said in this chapter. I have summarized the settings of Douluo 1. For example, the host of the fighting spirit field, Douluo, the flying martial spirit white dove must rely on the 3rd spirit skill to fly. The royal fighting team's Yufeng, the martial spirit wind chime bird, can fly when the martial spirit is attached. So the flying martial spirit will have these 2 situations. Not all flying martial spirits can fly. I saw someone talking about this in the comments section, so I came out to explain. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22. This Tang San is a bit cruel. The moment Tang San came into contact with Ma Hongjun's fiery palm, he found that, even if he used the mysterious jade hand, he was no match for Ma Hongjun. It was obvious that Ma Hongjun also had special skills. His strength was not comparable to that of Ma Hongjun in front of him, so he immediately used the move of controlling cranes and capturing dragons to resolve it. Ma Hongjun's fiery palm was also extremely strong and masculine. Tang San wanted to overcome strength with softness, but would Ma Hongjun let Tang San succeed? 4 ounces to move 1,000 pounds is just a metaphor. In the face of absolute strength advantage, it is not possible to overcome strength with softness. When Ma Hongjun was about to use the fiery palm move, Tang Sun retreated. It turned out that Xiao Wu had fallen to the ground at this time. Her spirit was a little scattered, but she had not completely lost her mind, and she was not like the original work, where she was directly unconscious due to the backlash of Xiao Wu's mental power. Just now, she used her second soul skill, and Ma Hongjun used the fiery god eye, which can be said to have destroyed Xiao Wu's second soul skill without any scruples. After all, his fiery god eye can not only see, but also break. Xiao Wu was immediately attacked by the spiritual power. In fact, Ma Hongjun was not worried, at least he knew, that Xiao Wu had withstood the spiritual power attack from Xiao Wuji. Ma Hongjun's spiritual power had only been raised to the peak of Soul Sect in a few months of training, and it was more or less improved by absorbing spirit rings and external spirit bones. Xiao Wu, are you okay? Tang Sun hurried over and asked with concern. Under Tang San's call, Xiao Wu gradually recovered, but her mental state was still a little bad. Brother, I'm sorry, I just suffered a backlash. His spiritual power is stronger than mine, at least reaching the Soul Sect level. Xiao Wu explained. I should say sorry for not protecting you well. You take a rest first, and leave it to me next. Tang Sun said with a gentle look. At this time, the battle on Damu Base side was also coming to an end. ZHU Zuking and Leng Xuanja, both of whom were at level 27, had already suffered a great loss of combat power. Maybe it was because they were facing ZHU Zuking, so the two did not suffer much injury. Oscar, on the other side, saw this situation and felt that it didn't matter whether he could go to troubling Rong or not, so he simply returned to the original place and waited for the battle to end. It can be said that they only have Tang Sun left now. As long as Tang Sun falls, they will lose. Tang Sun carried Xiao Wu to Ning Rong and then came to Ma Hongjun again. Suddenly he looked at Flanders again and said, how can we pass the test in front of us? Flanders took out an incense stick again, lit it and stuck it in the ground, saying, their battle is already a foregone conclusion. Within an incense stick, you can defeat him, or you can pass the test and enter Shrek Academy. Okay, then everything will start again. Tang Sun said seriously. Tang Sun looked at his 4 teammates again, and they all nodded to Tang Sun silently. At this time, they all chose to believe in Tang San. Is this the treatment of the so-called son of luck? You can become the focus wherever you go. Brother Ma Hongjun, you have to be careful. Tang Sun suddenly raised his head, and the purple light in his eyes suddenly became stronger. Seeing Tang San's purple eyes, Ma Hongjun smiled, and the next moment Ma Hongjun's eyes turned fiery red. Tang Sun also looked at Ma Hongjun again, thinking, could this kid also come from another world like him? Ma Hongjun's eyes did not only change, his hands also changed. He used the fiery palm again, strengthening his palm to the limit. Even if your hidden weapon is poisonous, in front of my fire, any poison must disappear. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, 10 cold lights burst out between Tang San's fingers. Imagine Ma Hongjun's eyes, shoulders, throat, heart, knees and lower abdomen respectively. There is no repeated position, all are vital points. Fortunately, Ma Hongjun knew what Tang Sun was going to do, unlike Xiao Wuji at the beginning, who could only choose to fight head on. Ma Hong's feet rubbed out fire, and his body shape changed. With the blessing of the fiery god eye, Tang San's hidden weapon was clearly visible in his eyes. He quickly dodged, and then immediately activated his martial spirit, and flew into the air again. Swish. Tang San's hidden weapons all missed. Ma Hongjun could clearly identify the part of his body that each hidden weapon was aimed at. So many hidden weapons were used at the same time, and all of them were aimed at vital parts, such as the throat and heart. If he was hit, he would die. Damn, this Tang Sun is too cruel. He just called him brother, and the next second he used this thing on him? Originally, Ma Hongjun wanted to have a good time with Tang San, but if this happened, don't blame me for being rude. Ma Hongjun also became serious. At this moment, Tang Sun was also secretly surprised in his heart. His hidden weapon technique was a rain of flowers. Some flew straight, some flew diagonally, and some went around the back, aiming at Ma Hongjun's body. But he was still easily dodged by Ma Hongjun, as if Ma Hongjun in front of him was his nemesis. His martial spirit was restrained, and even his various skills and hidden weapons were useless. No, I haven't lost yet. I must not lose. Just let me hit him with my hidden weapon. Tang San thought to himself. Ma Hongjun was always possessed by his martial spirit, and his body was covered with flames, so ordinary poisons could not enter at all. It's my turn. Ma Hongjun said softly, and his first soul ring lit up in the air, and the next moment a phoenix fire line came out from his hand, and faced Tang San directly. Tang San seemed to have been prepared for a long time. When Ma Hongjun launched the attack, his blue-silver grass formed a wall on his body. However, how could the wall made of blue-silver grass be a match for Ma Hongjun's first soul skill? When the two came into contact, there was a bang, and the phoenix fire line directly passed through and hit the ground, forming a fire pit, as if the soil was ignited by the flames. But Tang also relied on the wall made of blue-silver grass to delay a little time, thus escaping this attack. Ma Hongjun would definitely not give Tang San any chance, and the other two phoenix fire lines came out immediately after the first one. Tang San's road seemed to be blocked by Ma Hongjun, and he could only use all his strength to drive the ghost shadow to avoid it. Two loud noises sounded again, as if Tang San was hit head on. However, Ma Hongjun knew that Tang San should have escaped, but he did not notice Tang San's movements. Is the ghost shadow so fast? Suddenly, Ma Hongjun felt a chill behind him, and quickly dodged with all his strength. He saw several strong lights flashing in front of Ma Hongjun. It turned out to be 6 crossbow arrows, which almost hit him. At this moment, Tang San had already circled behind him, and he used the sleeve arrows. After using it, Tang San also gasped heavily. This was the first time he used the ghost shadow to the limit. At this moment, the internal force of the Zuanshan Gong had been almost consumed. Come on, let's continue. Ma Hongjun smiled evilly. Tang San was too cruel, and every move was fatal. He must be beaten severely. Alas. In the original work, Tang San was also so cruel to Zhao Wuji. A minute of silence for Zhao Wuji. Chapter 23. One punch knocks down Tang San. At this moment, Tang San's eyes were still purple, and Ma Hongjun also landed. In the air, he was undoubtedly a live target for Tang San. It's my turn. Ma Hongjun shouted, and the two soul rings on his body lit up. I don't know if it's because he reabsorbed the second soul ring. The second soul skill actually has some similarities with the previous one. Ma Hongjun still called it the Phoenix Rising in Fire. Before, the second soul skill was activated to enhance the Phoenix Flame by 30%. Now after the second soul skill is activated, the power of the Phoenix Flame instantly increases to 100%, and it can also increase his strength and defense by 50%, which are also not before. Such a powerful increase can only be achieved after he absorbs the 4000-year soul ring. Moreover, under the second soul skill, the power of the first soul skill can also be increased when using the first soul skill. This is equivalent to the combined attack of Ma Hongjun's 2 soul skills, but Ma Hongjun didn't want to use this trick at this time. After all, it is not necessary to deal with the current Tang San, unless he wants to kill him. When Ma Hongjun's second soul ring lit up, Tang San's body couldn't help but tremble. However, he still took out some hidden weapons from the soul guide, and used soul skills, while the soul rings lit up. Swish! Ma Hongjun's second soul skill, Fiery Flame Without Trace, was like Tang San's ghostly shadow. After a few shadows, he arrived in front of Tang San. The speed was too fast, and Tang San had no time to throw his hidden weapon this time. With a bang, Ma Hongjun did not use the Fiery Flame Palm, but punched Tang San in the chest with ordinary force. Tang San screamed, and flew out directly. Ma Hongjun's punch seemed to be sinking in. The power of the Phoenix Flame instantly burned a fist-sized mark on Tang San's clothes. I still underestimated Tang San's physical resistance. He was able to find balance in the air and land under such an attack. It seemed like a perfect and handsome landing, but it only lasted less than a second. Puff. Tang San spat out a large mouthful of blood, and could only support his body with his arms. His chest was still covered with smoke from the fire. Brother Zhao Wu said in shock. At this moment, she had almost recovered, and immediately rushed to Tang San. Seeing Tang San like this, Ma Hongjun also felt that it was almost done. Tang San was not that tough now. If he continued to fight, he would be the one in danger. Ma Hongjun knew the power of this punch. If the opponent was a little weaker, he would definitely die on the spot, but Tang San should be able to withstand it. You have to know that Tang Heo is watching here. It's okay to injure him, but if his life is in danger, then Tang Heo will definitely take action. With Tang Heo's personality, even Xiao Wuji and Flanders' protection will be useless. It's better to stop now, give Tang Heo a face, and teach Tang San a lesson. Xiao Wu worriedly supported Tang San. Brother, are you okay? It's all because of this red-haired dead phoenix. I'm going to teach you a lesson. After saying that, Xiao Wu was still ready to fight, but Tang San stopped her on the spot. Xiao Wu, I lost. I just used a hidden weapon, which is not fair to him. Brother, we can't just let it go. Are you okay? Xiao Wu said again. Although Tang San is ruthless, he is not a bad person. He has the kind of Jianghu spirit from his previous life in his bones, which can never be erased. Ma Hongjun also took out the recovery sausage he got from Oscar before the battle, came to Tang San, and said, eat it, this can heal your injuries. Oscar's first soul skill is a relatively universal and comprehensive recovery, which can promote the healing of injuries, restore physical strength and soul power, relieve fatigue and pain, and improve satiety. The only difference is that the shelf life of the sausage is a bit short, only 12 hours. I don't want your things, brother, let's go. Xiao Wu slowly helped Tang San up. However, Tang San didn't listen to Xiao Wu and looked at Ma Hongjun and said, you are a very strong opponent. I'm sorry that I used a hidden weapon on you just now. Ma Hongjun didn't expect Tang San to apologize and smiled. It's okay, so you call this a hidden weapon? It's better not to use it on your own people in the future. Who is your own person? Xiao Wu said angrily. Ma Hongjun looked at the incense stick that had already burned out and said, don't you want to join Shrek? To be honest, the incense stick really burned too fast, and it was estimated that it was still 1/3 of the original time. Others didn't know, but Ma Hongjun knew that when he used his second soul skill, Flanders used a trick to use soul power to quickly burn the incense stick while people were paying attention to the battle. So before Ma Hongjun attacked Tang San, the incense stick had been burned out by Flanders. What was the point of saying that? How could the cunning Flanders let these geniuses go? Can we join Shrek? Tang San looked at Ma Hongjun and Flanders in surprise. Flanders also nodded seriously. Hey, Dean, you are really too stingy. What kind of low quality incense did you buy? It must be from Aunt Wang next door. In such a short time, I don't know how much benefit Aunt Wang gave you. Hey. Ma Hongjun sighed repeatedly. At this time, everyone noticed that the incense stick had burned out. Is it really burnt out? Tang San and Xiao Wu looked at the incense stick with some disbelief. Ma Hongjun stepped forward and patted Tang San on the shoulder, saying, not bad, we are tied, you are very good, come on, brother, I believe in you, eat it quickly, it will help you recover. Everyone was surprised that he passed the test in a thrilling way, but only Tang San knew what happened just now. But Tang San did not say it. He just said thank you to Ma Hongjun, and then ate the recovery sausage that Ma Hongjun gave him in one bite. As soon as he took a bite, Tang San felt the extraordinary of this sausage. The chest injured by Ma Hongjun was healing quickly. Not only that, his soul power and physical strength were also restored. By the way, this is the sausage made by Oscar's first soul skill. One for each gold soul coin. Don't forget to give it to him. Ma Hongjun said lightly, and at the same time looked at Oscar. Oscar also smiled evilly, as if to say, brother, you did a good job, I will give you half later. Thank you. Tang San directly took out a gold soul coin, and threw it to Oscar, who gladly accepted it. It was a huge profit. After doing all this, Ma Hongjun also breathed a sigh of relief, thinking, if you, Tang Heo, dare to come to me at night, then Tang San will have no good days in the future. In fact, Ma Hongjun was still worried about this. Tang Heo was actually very protective of his son. He spent most of his time guarding Tang San. Alas, I, Ma Hongjun, have a miserable life. Without these great masters to protect me, I have to be careful all the time. But I, Ma Hongjun, am not made of clay. In the future, I will definitely surpass all of you, including Tang San. Chapter 24 You should learn from Ma Hongjun. Ma Hongjun was not surprised at all to defeat Tang San. From the time he came to Douluo continent to now, Shrek has been recruiting students. For a full 100 days, Ma Hongjun has been undergoing high-intensity training almost every day. He only rested when he went to hunt soul rings. With the help of the artifact, if he still can't defeat Tang San, he might as well find a piece of tofu and die. But Ma Hongjun knew that Tang San's cheats would become bigger and stronger. Now his soul power has reached level 29, and he is about to enter the soul master level, while he is only level 25. He must speed up the training of soul power and continue to improve his strength. He must not be overtaken by Tang San. This is Ma Hongjun's final bottom line. In fact, what can I say about Tang San? From watching anime and novels, Tang San is the protagonist. Most people who like novels and anime will naturally like the protagonist in them. Let me ask, if you don't like the protagonist, will you continue to watch it? However, this is not absolute. There will be a small number of people who can watch it. They go for the supporting roles, such as the beautiful and elegant Bibi Dong, the charming and sexy Hulina, and of course ZHU's Yuking, who is not inferior in figure and appearance. From his previous life, he still liked every one of the Shrek 7 devils. So, Ma Hongjun will treat and get along with them like friends, and will not deliberately target them. If you are good to me, Ma Hongjun, I will naturally be good to you. On the contrary, even if I liked you as a character in the past, I, Ma Hongjun, will not be a licker. If Tang San's hidden weapon was not too fierce at the beginning of the battle with Tang San just now, he would not have used heavy hands in the end. That's the reason. So he said that sentence, hidden weapons should never be aimed at your own people. While thinking and walking, Ma Hongjun came to Leng Sun and Leng Ling, and looked at Leng Xuanja over there and said, Xuanja, come here. Oh, I'm here. Leng Xuanja answered very well and immediately trotted over. Xuanja? Hearing this name, Leng Sun seemed a little unhappy. What's the matter? Leng Xuanja asked in confusion, and she didn't seem to notice anything wrong with Ma Hongjun's address to her. Ma Hongjun said seriously, now that you have seen the situation of the academy, they will all be enrolled. It's up to you, whether you stay or leave. After all, the conditions of the Spirit Hall Academy are much better than ours. There are countless suitable simulated training environments there, and we Shrek can't compare with this. You can choose for yourself. I want to stay, no need to say. Leng Xuanja still had the same attitude. Hey, since the geniuses of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect have come to Shrek, and the lady is willing, what else can we say? It's just that this time we may offend the teacher of the Spirit Hall. Leng Xuanja sighed. Ma Hongjun smiled and said, don't be afraid, isn't he just a teacher of the Spirit Hall? Xuanja's achievements in the future will definitely far exceed his. Dean, give them the letter you prepared. Leng Xuanja left it. Ma Hongjun smiled. If this is not completed, Flanders will definitely blame him for the rest of his life. Flanders had also prepared an envelope long ago, and used his soul power to throw it over from a distance. Well, miss, take care of yourself. We too have to go to the Spirit Hall to explain, and we have to go back to the family to report your situation to the clan leader. Okay, I know, you can all rest assured. Leng Xuanja said with some patience. After all, only Leng Xuanja brought people here, and the others seemed to come alone. Just like the beginning of the school year, the classmates of a class came alone, and your family brought you with a lot of bags, which always feels weird. After Leng Xuan and Leng Ling, the cold and spiritual combination, walked away, Leng Xuanja whispered to Ma Hongjun, thank you. Ma Hongjun was stunned and said, thank me for what? As soon as she finished speaking, Leng Xuanja left without explaining, as if she was a little embarrassed. At this time, Flanders was in a good mood. With these people joining, Shrek will surely prosper. Dame Yubei, take them to the financial teacher Li to pay the tuition of 100 gold soul coins each, and then go to teacher Lu to allocate accommodation. By the way, tell them the rules of the academy. The teaching will officially start tomorrow morning. Flanders decided. He couldn't wait to teach these kids, but they had just experienced a battle, and had not yet completed the enrollment, nor did they start now. Also, that kid, come with me. Flanders actually recognized the soul guide on Tang San's waist as soon as he arrived. Tang San handed his purse directly to Xiao Wu to pay the tuition on his behalf, and Tang San also learned from Ma Hongjun and others that the man in front of him was the dean of Shrek Academy. Dame Yubei took the 5 newcomers to go through the enrollment procedures, and Oscar followed them happily when he saw the beauties along the way. Only Ma Hongjun returned to his dormitory. After training for a morning, it was time to take a shower and change clothes. Flanders' office, which is also his residence, is next to this small playground. It is very simply decorated, with only some necessary items. After Flanders sat down, he looked at Tang-san, his eyes showing a complex light, and said, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Flanders, the Dean of Shrek. How is the master?" Tang-san was also a little surprised that the dean in front of him actually knew the master, and quickly nodded and responded, "The teacher is very good." Flanders looked at Tang-san in surprise and said, "So you are his student? No wonder he also gave you this belt." In fact, Flanders had already guessed that Tang-san was the master's disciple, and this time he was just confirming it. Otherwise how could Tang-san have this belt? Just like the soul guide he gave to Ma Hongjun, such a valuable thing could not be given away easily. The moment he gave Ma Hongjun the soul guide, he actually regarded Ma Hongjun as his direct disciple. "By the way, before leaving, the teacher asked me to give you this letter after I passed the assessment and was admitted." After reading the letter from the master, sighing and communicating, Flanders also knew that this Tang-san was the proof of his good brother, the master. Compared with his own disciple Ma Hongjun, he is actually more proud now, and thinks that Ma Hongjun's talent and potential are definitely above Tang-san. Flanders said with some pride, "In fact, it is not surprising that you lost to Ma Hongjun. After all, he is my direct disciple. I have taught him carefully every day since he was 6 years old, and he has achieved what he has today. You must learn from Ma Hongjun. His strength has not yet been fully exerted. I hope you will not disappoint the master or me." "Thank you, Dean. I will work hard." Tang-san answered seriously. "Well, you are still injured. Take good care of yourself after you go back. The training tomorrow morning is not easy. Go." Flanders said. Chapter 25. There must be a size. The next morning, on the Shrek playground, the 8 students had already assembled, and everyone looked very good. Ma Hongjun came to the playground last. At this moment, his sweat had soaked his clothes, and he still hadn't taken off the 60 kilograms of weight on his body. He appeared in the crowd like this, and from the clothes and dress of others, Ma Hongjun really looked a bit out of place. Yesterday, Tang-san and others were very curious about Ma Hongjun's dress, and today they all saw the truth. "You are so strange, dressing like this?" Xiao Wu asked first, curiously. Ma Hongjun smiled and said, "This is my training equipment. This kid has gone out to train while you are still sleeping. He has probably been training for more than 4 hours now." Damu Bei said lightly. He couldn't catch up with this kind of perseverance. That's right, Ma Hongjun can see the sky at 4 o'clock in the morning every day. This is also one of the reasons why he has made so much progress in 3 months. "You said you got up at 4 in the morning to practice?" Tang-san also asked curiously. Even he couldn't do it. He only practiced the purple demon eye in the morning, which was after 5 or 6 in the morning. "No wonder," Dean Flanders said, "that I was a little worse than Ma Hongjun." Except for the original Shrek people, everyone looked at Ma Hongjun in surprise, as if they were looking at a monster. "It's nothing, just exercise." Ma Hongjun smiled. "That's also amazing." "Hey, the dean and teachers are here," Oscar said. At this time, Flanders and several teachers walking slowly behind him could be seen from a distance. "Is this Dean a soul Douluo?" Xiao Wu suddenly asked. Next to him was Oscar, who immediately replied, "No, our dean is the founder of Shrek, the four-eyed cat owl Flanders, a level 78 soul saint, who is more powerful than teacher Xiao, and he possesses a flying martial soul, which is extremely rare among combat soul masters. Ma Hongjun is his direct disciple." Xiao Wu seemed to be relieved and muttered softly, "It's okay, it's only level 78, Uncle Big Sausage. Does our academy have teachers above the Soul Douluo level?" Oscar shook his head and said, "Please call me the sausage specialist. You think I'm a Soul Douluo in vain." Before he finished speaking, Ma Hongjun said, "Of course our academy has Soul Douluo masters, and there is more than one." "What?" After hearing this, Xiao Wu actually took a step back nervously, and her face turned pale for a moment. Tang-san quickly supported Xiao Wu and said, "Xiao Wu, what's wrong with you?" At this time, everyone looked at Xiao Wu in confusion. Among the crowd, only Ma Hongjun knew the most, because once promoted to Soul Douluo, the spiritual power can be said to have reached the materialization. As long as you observe carefully, you can find that Xiao Wu is a soul beast. He just wanted to scare Xiao Wu, and then laughed. It's a joke. I mean that our academy will definitely have it in the future, but it definitely doesn't exist now. Really? Xiao Wu looked at Oscar and Amy Bay, who seemed to be a little bit unconvinced by Ma Hongjun's words. The two nodded at the same time, and Xiao Wu was relieved. Although she blamed Ma Hongjun in her heart, she couldn't show it. Do you think Soul Douluo is cabbage? There are cabbages everywhere. There are no more than 100 strong people above Soul Douluo in the whole continent, and they are all supported by the empire and the kingdoms under the empire. As for title Douluo, there are only about 10 in the two empires combined. It's not that easy to see. Oscar laughed. Seeing that Flanders and Xiao Wuji were about to arrive, Ma Hongjun said again, the dean and teacher Xiao will definitely be able to break through and enter the realm of Soul Douluo in the future. From a distance, Flanders heard someone praising him, and he was also Ma Hongjun's direct disciple, and his heart was filled with joy. But the next second Ma Hongjun said, if he wasn't so sarcastic and stingy, I guess he would be a Soul Douluo now. Haha, what does this have to do with becoming a Soul Douluo? Xiao Wu suddenly laughed, and she was not as nervous as before. Ahem. Flanders coughed deliberately, and several people had already arrived in front of them. Flanders had a serious face, and his unique hoarse voice with a magnetic sense of points rang out. This year is very good, with 5 more little monsters. I believe you are already clear about the rules of the academy, and I will not say much here. Today I will officially start teaching you. But before that, our Shrek teacher would like to introduce himself first. My name is Flanders, and I'm your dean. My martial soul is 4-eyed cat owl, and I'm a level 78 soul saint. Xiao Wuji, my martial soul is the mighty King Kong bear, and I'm a level 76 strong attack soul saint. Li Yusang, my martial soul is dragon pattern stick, and I'm a level 63 strong attack soul emperor. Lukabin, my martial soul is star chess, and I'm a level 66 control soul emperor. Shaozin, my martial soul is sugar bean, and I'm a level 71 food soul saint. After the introduction, Flanders said again, you are very lucky to have chosen our Shrek Academy. Now, you can introduce yourselves. The 5 newcomers were all very surprised. The lowest level of Shrek teachers was Soul Emperor. There were 3 Soul Saints and 2 Soul Emperors, and they were just teaching 8 students. Which academy on the mainland could compare to this? Then it was Tangson and the others' turn to introduce. When talking about Ma Hongjun's level 25, Flanders scolded him again. You should know that among the other 7 people, Rong, the lowest, was also level 26, but Ma Hongjun's spirit power was the lowest now. But despite this, none of them looked down on Ma Hongjun. Then Flanders said to Ma Hongjun, I'll give you a task. Go to Suoto City immediately and copy 7 sets of your equipment and then distribute them to them. What? The equipment on my body? This is 60 kilograms. Are you sure they can do it? Ma Hongjun didn't expect Flanders to give such an order. 60 kilograms? Are you kidding? Rong also questioned loudly. It should be. If I'm not mistaken, the equipment on Ma Hongjun's body should be filled with iron beads, which weighs 60 kilograms. Tangson noticed this equipment when he saw Ma Hongjun. So, you guys report the number yourself. What kilograms do you think your limit is? Flanders smiled. Damu Bay, 30 kilograms. Tangsan, 30 kilograms. ZHU Zuking, 15 kilograms. Xiao Wu, 15 kilograms. Leng Shuanja, 20 kilograms. Only Oscar and Rong remained silent. We too don't need this, do we? Oscar and Rong said at the same time. Well, I said we need it. Oscar 10 kilograms, Rong 5 kilograms, and the rest of you add 5 kilograms to your own numbers. That's it. While talking, Ma Hongjun came to the beauties and took out a small notebook. Well, Xiao Wu, these should be the measurements. This one is B. ZHU Zuking. Well, it must be D. Shuanja should be between B and C, or C. It's better to count it as C. Too small is not good for development, and Ning Rong Rong can barely count as B. In comparison, I have to say ZHU Zuking's talent is really good. Ma Hongjun muttered softly while looking at it. Ma Hongjun, what are you mumbling about? Flanders asked. Hey, what are you doing? Wow, your judgment is very accurate. Oscar looked at Ma Hongjun's records and looked at the girls in front of him. What is it? Xiao Wu came up to take a look curiously, and her face suddenly changed. Ma Hongjun immediately put it away and said with a smile, to make equipment, there must be a certain size, right? I'm leaving first, you guys keep training. Seeing Xiao Wu's angry look, Ma Hongjun slipped away on the spot. Xiao Wu, what did he write? Leng Xuanjia asked curiously. He's a bastard, how could I be that small? What he wrote is. Xiao Wu was angry, but she also told the other girls quietly. Suddenly, everyone showed their murderous intent, especially Xiao Wu and Ning Rong Rong. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.